Reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. VSiN Live.
Filling in for Patrick Meagher, here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome in. It's an Easter Monday with plenty to do. We've got the NBA. We've got the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've got old Dusty. Patrick Meagher will be back tomorrow, by the way. Fear not. But Dusty, me and you again. I'm hoping to do a little better than I did Friday, off to a nice 2-0 start in Major League Baseball. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of props for me. Let's start with Knicks and Pistons. You and I were just briefly discussing this off the air. 6.5 for Nusavig. I finally pulled the trigger on the Knicks. I know a lot of sharp people out there love the Pistons +7. I kind of get it. Typically, it's that zigzag theory. I just don't think this Pistons team is that good. I know it took the Knicks a 21-0 run, but they really hadn't played all that well. And I don't think the Knicks are beating Cleveland or Boston. They're going to play Boston, so it doesn't really matter for Cleveland unless they beat Boston. But you get the idea. They're not on that level, but they could definitely come away with a relatively easy win over the Pistons tonight. How are you, my friend?
Good, man. You said post-Easter. It's also post-420. I hope you enjoyed your 420 and you're fully recovered, ready to go today.
It's a little bit of a conflicting day for me, you know what I mean? Because I like myself some 420, too. But, you know, I also got to do family stuff on an Easter Sunday. It was late. Easter's usually early April or late May, March. But anyway, all right, so let's go, man. I need the game's about to start.
Hey.
Give me these props.
So, look, I have a prop, but I do believe you're on the right side when you look at everything with this Pistons team. Sometimes with betting, I think we overanalyze the stats, the numbers, the matchups, you know, the actual basketball involved. The reality is, Tom, that is a young Detroit team that had a win on the road that could have changed the entire landscape of this series for not just them, the Knicks, the Eastern Conference, with a win there, and they let it fall through their fingertips. And I don't really know how they emotionally recover from that. I think that because they are so young and because it was such a big opportunity, they're in a volatile environment, Madison Square Garden, where the crowd's going to be into it. They're going to be crazy. Yeah. I think it's going to be difficult to match what they did in the first half. And then for the Knicks, look, the Knicks kind of have a bit of an elixir for Cade Cunningham. You saw OG Anunoby in the second half. He was able to defend him a lot tighter. When OG's doing that and then adding the offensive element with 20-plus points the other night, the Knicks become a different kind of team. Also, I should note the Pistons just 1-6 against the spread. Their last 7 road games, they're failing to cover in those by a margin of 7.1 points per game. So the market's somewhat have adjusted to the Pistons. Early on, they were a big value play when it came to betting perspective because the market didn't realize how good they were, and credit to the coaching staff for revamping this entire organization. But the reality is the market may have been more right than the perception when this series price came out. You remember it was a heavy favorite to the Knicks. And everyone was saying, I think the Pistons are live. And because Jalen Brunson's in his back pocket there for the Knicks, and he can just turn it on at any point in time, I just think they have too many offensive weapons, especially down the stretch for Detroit, so to handle. So with you, I like the Knicks tonight, but from a prop perspective, we're going to look at Karl Anthony Towns. Detroit doesn't have an answer for him, man. They don't know how to defend him. I have 2 plays because there was a plus money price that I just couldn't avoid, and that's on his assists. Over 3.5 assists. He is just a beast versus Detroit. He's gone over this number in 3 of 4. He had 5 the other night. Detroit doesn't have a good matchup for him. So we're also going to combine his points and assists together over 26.5 because this guy went 8 for 8 from the field when Byrne defended him. Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, is not going to play tonight, Tom. And he bullied Tobias Harris when Tobias Harris was tasked with guarding Cat. I love Karl Anthony Towns tonight. It feels like his type of game, his kind of moment at Madison Square Garden.
I don't hate it. I'm with you. Generally speaking, I think we're on the same page. We were against each other a couple times the other night, which was fun. I think we split them 1-1, but we're on the same page here. I'll take 6.5 minus 106 is my official play.
Yep.
Give me the Knicks there, and you'll take the Karl Anthony Towns prop. You said you had 2. Did you give me the second prop?
There was 2 on Cat, and I also went Malik Beasley.
That's right. 2 on. That's right. Okay.
I went over Malik Beasley on his points just because the Knicks really struggle with those off-the-ball guards this year, and Beasley hit 6 threes on Saturday night. And I think with Anunoby Anunoby focusing on Cade Cunningham, that opens up some opportunities for Beasley to get some looks against that Knicks defense. So I do like that. And then from a betting splits perspective, become a VSiN pro right now, VSiN.com. Betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. By the way, use the promo code SIRIUS, part of the summer special. You can get everything we do over there for $19 from now through August. But right now it's Circa, the sharpest sports book in the country. 62% of the money on just 50% of the bets backing the Knicks. I look at DraftKings, a national sports book, a little bit of broader perspective. 72% of the money on just 60% of the bets. That tells me bigger bets, bigger amounts from sharper bettors being placed on New York tonight. And that's why I like your play of -6.5.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not a huge betting splits guy, but the Circa betting splits are of interest to me for sure. And I also get that, VSiN.com. Make sure you guys check that out. I think if you just simply look at metrics like predictive EPM and Darko and just project minutes properly, which is a big part of this, and you get a better feel for the minutes, the pace, what pace the game's going to be played for after game one, I still come away Knicks. I know a lot of sharp people like the Pistons +7, though. We shall see. And the Garden was rocking. Hey, listen, I'm a Sixer fan. I hate the Knicks. So I never want to back the Knicks from a fan perspective. But, man, the Garden was rocking when they went on that 21-0 run. Speaking of the Sixers, remember last year when DiVincenzo hit that 3 to beat them in that great series? I thought that was loud. It might have got almost that loud the other night. And then there was some nights back in the Melo days. But the Garden hasn't really rocked like that for some time. That's a tough environment, man, for an inexperienced Pistons team that's playing with cash. I'm sorry, cash. They're making a lot of that too. Playing with house money. I just don't think they're going to be up for the task tonight. By the way, speaking of New York, how about the freaking Yankees? We'll do some baseball today. Boy, Strider getting hurt again for the Braves is bad news. But I'm on the Yanks here, which I hate. First 5, they just gave up 4 runs. Before we get to the NBA, which is much more important, baseball, you have any plays tonight?
Yeah, we went a little bit crazy, Tom. I know it does not surprise you. But we're going to go Tyler McGill with the Mets and Phillies, our two teams facing off there. Yeah. I went under 15.5 outs recorded. He just doesn't pitch deep into games, and I like that Phillies lineup. By the way, the most single bet on BetMGM today is Nick Castellanos to hit a home run. Do you know why?
Because the Pope died? Because every time there's a big event. Yeah. Rest in peace. That was my guy, man. But, yeah, every time there's a big event, he hits a home run. I get it. It's because of that. Remember, it was the Tom Brenneman incident.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, Brenneman is back. He does CY. He does, what is it called? CW. He does CW college basketball. He's excellent. He's great.
Yeah,
but that wasn't his best moment, obviously. But since then, Castellanos has been a machine on days that something big happens.
Yeah, Brenneman, I think he only likes to call games with white guys playing, though. I think that's his problem. I don't know.
Is that
let's see. Some other plays here in baseball.
I don't think that's what got him in trouble. Is that the...
No. I was just saying he's just shady. Let's see. We're also looking at the Giants later tonight. I think this is a weird mismatch at -135. I thought that was a value play on Robbie Ray and the Giants taking on the Brew Crew. Quinn Priester's on the bump for Milwaukee, and the Brewers don't hit lefties. Over the last 2-3 years, they have not been good against southpaw, so that's one play we're looking at. And then in Cardinals-Braves, 2 hitter props, total bases. Marcell Ozuna over 1.5 total bases, -103. Also Michael Harris at +120 over 1.5 total bases. Those two guys have great numbers against Eric Fetty, who just doesn't miss any bats, and they're actually hitting right now. Harris has a couple hits over his last few games. Ozuna has been hitting all season long, so I do like those 2 hitters in that Braves-Cardinals game.
All right, fair enough. Miami just scored. I'm on them. First 5 in full game, +$1.10, +115, respectively. We shall see. Off to a good start there. Everything else, Detroit, San Diego first inning run is over. I told you about the Yankees. So we will have some baseball. But, of course, we got to do a lot of NBA. The best game thus far, getting back to the association. And we'll keep an eye on the NHL as well. I'm kind of waiting for that Stars game to start because I want to get in on the Stars. If money keeps coming in the other way, I want to take the plus price, I think, with the home team there. We'll keep an eye on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Denver and the Clippers. What to do with this game tonight? I'm on the Clippers in the series. I was on the Clippers in game 1. But I found myself taking Denver +1.5 at the opener here because how can you have Denver, which went off as a 2.5, even 3-point favorite at some shops last game, now getting a 1.5? It's a strange series. I almost don't know what to do with it. I love the game, though. It's the only game really worth watching beginning to end so far.
Yeah, look, Tom, I love the Nuggets, but here's the problem is do they have the effort that it took to come back down 15, force overtime, end up winning the game? Do they have that, available to them every single night? Because that's what it's going to take. Because I was shocked at how efficient the Clippers looked up until the end of that game. They were so efficient offensively. Kawhi, it felt like, didn't miss a shot. Harden, that floater was perfect all night long. He set other guys up. Yeah. And I look at the Nuggets. It's Murray and Jokic. And that's the reason why Russell Westbrook was open with 24 seconds ago to hit that three, is because the Clippers know that it's Murray and Jokic. So you're relying on that point on Russell Westbrook to beat you, on Christian Brown to beat you, Michael Porter Jr., who got benched, to beat you. And I don't know if you can rely on what you saw from an energy perspective in game one. I came away from that game thinking the Clippers are definitely the better team in this series, and they should finish the job. I think they are the play tonight, but I am not playing a side in that one because that series does feel like a coin flip.
It's funny that's what you took from it, because I kind of felt that way going in. As I said on Friday, I came out disappointed. 20 turnovers for the Clips. Kawhi had 7. He only had 4 points in like the final 12-plus minutes plus overtime of the game. He really stunk down the stretch. You made a good point about Harden. People love to clown James Harden every time he stinks in a big game. I get it. But don't you also have to give the man his credit when he plays well? He was hitting runner after runner. Now, I get it. The final turnover, he's just trying to do the old lazy seal. Put the left arm in the air, have the guy just loft it. That works in a regular season, a Tuesday in Orlando. Come on, man. There's 9 seconds left. This is Russell Westbrook with more energy than anybody in the league. I hated that particular play. Otherwise, I thought Harden was great. I can't wait for that game. We'll be getting off the air at that time. I'll definitely be up watching that one. Again, it's the only game, let's be honest, the only game that really was all that good.
Oh, it was. It was a horrible weekend for the NBA. We can get into that in a moment. But I want to ask you this about Russell Westbrook, because you see him open there in the corner for 3. And you know that the Nuggets, we don't want to throw it there. There's a reason why the Clippers are giving him the shot. You just think about Russell Westbrook's career, and in my mind, as the pass is being thrown to him, it becomes slow motion. And I'm just thinking, oh, no, this is one of those shots he misses, and everyone blames Russ for losing the game. What % chance did you give him to make that shot in that spot? Because I gave him about a 10% chance as the ball was in the air.
3 of 10. More times than not, he misses it. You're all right, right? You're all right if you're the opponent. I don't care who you are. With Russell Westbrook standing in the corner as a three-point threat, you're not going to close out hard on him and let him attack your closeout. Just let him shoot it. And listen, give him credit. In this case, he made it. Russ stunk for 3.5 quarters of the game, if we're going to be fair about it. But he made brilliant plays down the stretch. And what's funny about this whole ordeal is the idea that he's the one who got the coach fired, apparently. Malone trusted him because of the fact he felt he could step up in a big moment. And he did, as it would turn out. So we'll see. I mean, Denver's going to be rolling tonight. That's not your typical home court. I told you before, I don't think the novices really understand what home court means in the playoffs. It was worth 1.7 points per 100 possessions regular season, 5.1 last year in the postseason. It is meaningful, especially in that altitude.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, that's why the win would have been so big for the Clippers, to steal game one, not just in the series, but in the altitude in Denver, where there's a little bit more of an advantage for those guys that are spending time there, that are living there, that don't have to get acclimated. That was massive. I do have a play in that game, and it's an interesting angle, I think. I'm going to go Zubac under 17.5 points, Tom, because they're down 0-1 in the series. His offense is kind of irrelevant, and he can score. Don't get me wrong. He's become, honestly, his improvement is maybe flying under the radar as a complete center now, where he's got an offensive game. He's an elite defender, a great passer, a great rebounder. But I think because they're down 0-1, he's going to be so focused and determined at slowing down Nikola Jokic tonight that I don't know how much offense he gets. So I'm going to go under 17.5 points on Zubac. He's gone under that number in 5 of 9 versus Denver over the last couple seasons. So it's not a great number in terms of covering that. But the reality is, I think the situation predicates the fact that he's going to have to expend so much energy on one end of the floor. I'm not sure how involved he's going to be on the other end.
It's interesting. It's a good point. It is a good point. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. Welcome in. It's a Monday. VSiN Live with plenty to do. We also had some news about a future NBA player. Whether he's a superstar remains to be seen. Cooper Flagg is leaving. We all knew he would. I get it. He reclassified. He's young. He's 17. He didn't reclassify to stay an extra year at Duke. I know he loves it. He wants to be with his guys. I get it. I'd want to stay in college another 4 years if I could too. But he's got to get into his NBA clock, if you know what I mean, so he could get these big contracts. Do you believe he's a franchise-altering player? We know he's number one. Is he going to be that sort of can't-miss Victor Wembanyama type of number one?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a great player. And by the way, Tom, some of us went to college for 6 years. Some of us spent 6 great years, more than half a decade in college.
I lost then. I put the over under 6.5. I owe money.
Yeah, so look, Cooper Flagg, and shout out to Bill and Chevy Chase, who was calling a few weeks ago wondering a conspiracy. You know, maybe Cooper Flagg's staying. He's not going to go to the draft. He's got an all-around game that translates. I feel like when you look at Cooper Flagg, it's more of a high floor. I don't know what the ceiling is, but I feel like it's up there because whenever he needed to take over, he could. He's a lead on both ends. He's a great facilitator. I saw someone comparing him to Kawhi. I think that's a little lofty. I'll go a notch below Kawhi and say he reminds me of Jimmy Butler in the way he can contribute everywhere across the board, where I don't know if he's if he's your number 1A player, I don't know if you're winning titles, but if he's your number 2 player, I absolutely think you are.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the way I look. I think he's going to make 5-6 All-Star games. Listen, the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame is made up of guys who have made less than 5-6 All-Star games. But I just don't know that I see future best player in the championship team. If you gave me an over-under half MVP right now, I take under. And that's not a slight, but I just want to put in context, like, you know, MVP is next level stuff. Kobe won one. Shaq won one. It ain't easy. I don't think Cooper Flagg's that dude.
No, and the problem with that award, right, is that it's the same guys over and over again. So it's hard to break through into that club. But you look at who's won it year after year, and it's guys winning it multiple times. Once you get one, you're more likely to get 2 or 3 down the road, unless you're Joel Embiid, because you just don't play basketball following winning an MVP award. But for everyone else, that's traditionally the case here. But I think he's going to be a really good player, a really nice player. And if you're a GM in the NBA, look, even if he's a bust, you get fired if you pass on Cooper Flagg. So you better take him.
Oh, 100%. The only guy in the NBA that wouldn't take him is Nico Harrison. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody else has a brain. You've got to take Cooper Flagg. He might not take Cooper Flagg. He would take, you know, somebody who stands 6'11", is long, and could play a little defense, I guess. But my God, did you hear that today? He can't be serious, can he? He can't be serious. He's that disconnected from his fan base. That's a fireable offense alone. You didn't know the fan base was infatuated with Luka Doncic?
I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm ready for the 30 for 30. I'm ready for the 30 for 30. Give me the 30 for 30 on this story now. I need background. I need investigative reporting. I need the FBI on top of this. Where's Bob Lee and Outside the Lines when you need him? I need someone to do the digging and give us the real story, because it's just not possible. There's no way we're getting the truth when it comes to what's coming out of these people's mouths involved, or Nico Harrison is the greatest employee in the history of employees, following a mafioso code where he's just going down, taking a bullet for other people who don't want to admit that there's other things going on behind the scenes as to why they made this trade. It doesn't make sense. It's inexplicable. But how about this? If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, everyone's just talking about Luka. Well, let's remember, they once had a backcourt that had Luka and Jalen Brunson, who's playing tonight, who led the Knicks to a victory on Saturday. If you're a Mavs fan, you have to look around and go, is our organization in the business of actually trying to win another championship?
Yep. And look, I know everybody wants to say that, well, Mark Cuban was running the team. The trade probably would not have occurred.
Yeah.
I agree. Cuban was there when they let Jalen Brunson walk. And there were some of us said at the time, you know, and we didn't think Brunson would end up being a top 10, 15 player in the world. Let's not get it twisted. But we did say you got to get something for Brunson and not let him walk for nothing they did. Oh, God, that Mavericks team. I feel bad for the fans. I mean, I used to have a buddy of mine who does morning radio in Dallas on the regular, and we made it a bit when I would, after getting done with the Cowboys, of course, finish the interview. I'd ask, all right, what's the latest rating locally for the Mavericks? And it would always be 0 point something. It would never be 1 point something. It was right after the Dirk Nowitzki run. They're going to be right back down there, Dustin. And they had an unbelievable base. They were getting good ratings. They were selling out every night. That building's going to be empty. All the season ticket holders are going to bail. I mean, the advertising's going to go. I know they saved themselves some money on the super contract. They're going to lose that and then some. because of the fact they let him walk. What a dumb. I'm here for all the conspiracy theories. That's how dumb the trade was. I'm here for all of them, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
No, when's the last time there was an NBA trade where a superstar wasn't, one, forcing himself out of town, and then two, where that superstar felt like a victim in the whole process? I can't remember the last time a player felt like more of a victim than Luka Doncic right now. Let's
25.
hear from Nico Harrison earlier today, talking with the media, and was asked, do you feel the fans' frustration right now?
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but the way we looked at it is, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage. And so unfortunately we weren't able to do that, so it just continued to go on and on.
Even if that is the case, you can't admit that. How does that come out of your mouth right there? Oh, my God.
No,
I don't know how he still has a job. He should have just walked away. If people want to take him off the hook, because a lot of people want to do that now. Well, it's probably ownership. Fine. If you're Nico Harrison, you say, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys employing me. I got to do what's best for me. I can't have this on my resume. I can't have this. I got to go. Think about that.
But what he says is just not true. It's just not true. It's not. There's no reality where if they won, people would say, yep, the trade was justified. You shortened the window to win a title when you had one of the 3 or 4 guys on the planet that you can lock in over the next 8 seasons could just carry your team to the finals. You know how I know that? He did it a year ago. You also had issues with his conditioning when, oh, by the way, a year ago, he was in the same shape he's in right now where he carried you to the finals. Nothing about it tracks. Nothing about it makes sense. And there's just, he had to have been told, you have a job here for life if you take the bullet for this. There's no other way to do it, because if you're another organization, you can't even hire this guy to be like your 3rd assistant GM or 4th assistant GM. You can't let him within the walls of your team because he will rip it apart. He doesn't know what he's doing.
And the fans would revolt. Yeah. When they hear Nico Harrison, they hear Luka Doncic just got traded for Anthony Davis, and somehow the Lakers keep the 2031 first-round pick. Somehow they keep the swap. Somehow they keep Austin Reeves. I mean, you can't make it up. The Knicks, and by the way, I think the Knicks and Pistons are playing tonight. Are they not? Are they going to start the game sometime soon? I thought that was a 7-10 start.
Hold on. You don't know the conspiracy about this. Don't
they want
check
us to watch the pregame?
No, you don't check it. Well, that's part of it. You don't check ESPN.com. You don't check TNT's website. You don't check Fox or CBS. You go to the sportsbook apps. Unfortunately, somehow, those are the only people in the world who don't lie to you about this, Tom, because I'm looking over at DraftKings and it says 4:35 p.m. is the start time, where a bunch of other websites were trying to tell me it was 4:10. Okay. Somehow it's the sports books. The one honest thing they're doing with you is they're telling you what time these games start.
That's a good point. And here I was rushing, yelling at you to give me the prop there at the open because I thought it was starting typical 7:10 Eastern, 4:10 Pacific time start. All right. Fair enough. All right. You guys can get in tonight. 888-623-3646. 888-MAD-DOG-6. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. When we come back, the more notable win, and they were totally different from each other, the Thunder or the Warriors. That's next. It's VSiN Live. It's a Monday on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
Yes, sir. It was not a great weekend for the NBA, outside of the Clippers-Nuggets game, of course. But it doesn't mean we don't have a lot to chop up. Let me get your thoughts on this. Thunder, 51-point win. I mean, come on, Memphis. You can't be serious with that. Golden State, though, made it look kind of easy. And I looked bad on that because I like the Rockets plus the 1.5. I had great CLV, but it went to die. Which is more notable to you? Is it the Warriors because they played a 2 seed, in theory a much better team than Memphis? Or is it Oklahoma City winning by 51? Because you know where I'm coming from. To me, it's the Thunder all day in the West. It's not quite Golden State when they had Steph and KD, okay? I'm not saying it's a complete lock. It's not like watching a movie for the 10th time. You already know how it's going to end. But it's pretty darn close. I know they are young, but this Thunder team, find me discernible weakness.
Okay. I hear where you're coming from. I actually go with the Warriors more impressive between the two options there. But Memphis was in the most impossible spot I think we've seen an NBA team be in a long time. To take on this version of the Thunder, where they played two games this week, short turnaround, not just a short turnaround, but the early game we're playing at noon? Like, what are we doing there? How is that the game plan when it came to scheduling this? We're the 1 seeds playing this team that just played 2 games where they lost one, won another, had all this effort to get here. There was no shot the Grizzlies were ever going to show up. Now, I didn't expect them to look that bad. No. But, yeah, I actually think Golden State going on the road against a feisty, rested Houston team, because I think when it comes to Jimmy Butler, Steph, and Draymond, rest matters because they're older. They've been through it. There's a lot of wear and tear on those tires, man. Yeah. I think that was more impressive there to make a statement and kind of let Houston know you're not ready for this kind of fight.
And Houston's going to be better. They didn't shoot the 3-ball well at all. That's the first thing nowadays you look at the box score, 3-point shooting. I think if you look at the 3-point less efficiency numbers, it gives you a little better feel. I think that's going to be a tremendous game. I'm probably going to stay away from game 2. Rockets have to have it. It's a must-win, just like it is for the Lakers. We'll get to them. And you're right about the spot for the Grizzlies, but it's not like I heard everybody in America saying, oh, God, this is a gift from the odds makers. Let's go and lay all the points. I mean, after the fact, sure, you look at the spot, look tough. Now the number's up to 15. And I still know of a lot of sharp people that are like, I don't expect anything to change. Let's go Oklahoma City again. I mean, at 15, are you really going to lay 15 in the NBA playoffs?
We discussed this yesterday on VSiN, Will Hill and myself on Live Bet Sunday. What number would you need to take Memphis? Because my initial before I saw the line was 17. I just don't trust them. There could be an element here. There could be an element here, Tom, with the Grizzlies where, look, they fired Taylor Jenkins 9 games to go in the season, where these guys are realizing this isn't working. We can't fix it on the fly. We're not winning a championship, even though they were like the 2 seed a few months ago, a few weeks ago even. I think they're looking at this, and there's a chance that there's a little part of these players that are just ready for this season to end because they know that team on the other side is so much better than them.
It's fair. I tell you, if this continues to go north, I'll tell you this. If it gets to 16, that'd be enough for me. I know it's weird, 15, 16, not a huge difference, but little things like that sometimes do make a huge difference in the long run. I got to think they have a little pride. Ja Morant's got a little pride. I mean, he wants to throw that grenade. He wants to shoot people. He's going to have a little pride, man. He's going to go out there, play hard. Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, they've got some talent. They can't keep within 16 at home. I mean, you're right. If they're down 2-0 going to game 3 and they just got their butts handed to them again, you're right. It's 1-2-3 Cancun. But I don't think we're there yet.
Jaren Jackson Jr. can't possibly play worse than he did in game 1. So they have that going for them. They'll get something out of him. But the thing that would scare me if I'm Memphis is I look across at Oklahoma City. They didn't really have to exert a lot of effort, man. Like, Jalen Williams played the most minutes of any starter. SGA didn't even have an MVP game, and it felt like half the guys who got in the lineup for the Thunder were scoring in double figures at will. It was a little too easy for Oklahoma City on the offensive end. That would be the part that scares me, is they just have so many ways to beat you.
Yeah, 51.
51's crazy.
If you're a big Grizzlies fan or you had a big Grizzlies ticket, you were drinking early in that one. I don't even drink anymore. And I would have to pour one for them. I mean, that was so bad, Dustin. 51. What a disgrace. And by the way, while we're bitching and moaning, how about the NHL schedule? Do you realize they have a game that's going to start after 11 o'clock on the East Coast? And I know this is, and we're on Mad Dog Sports Radio right now, this is a very Mad Dog type curmudgeonly take. But how do you start a Stanley Cup playoff game? I'm sure it's because of ESPN. After 11 Eastern, the local start in Vegas for that night's game is going to be 8:05 local time. I mean, do you want anybody to watch? My son's 10. You think I'm going to let him stay up to 2 in the morning to watch the Vegas Knights?
I think now hear me out. I think the argument from them when it comes to the schedule with that is they're catering to the West Coast fan. But can I tell you the irony of the West Coast fan, Tom? You're an East Coast guy. I'm originally an East Coast guy. People on the West Coast don't really work. I'm sorry. I've lived in a few different cities. They don't work 9 to 5s at least. So the thought is that they get out of work at 5. They can get to the stadium by like 6:45 and their seats at 7 for a 7:30 local start. That is the thought process. I don't believe the West Coast operates the same way as the East Coast. If you put that game at 5 p.m. local or 4 p.m. local, I don't think it actually makes any difference here.
Yeah, you might be right about it. I just think that's silly. And how about the Edmonton Orioles and the LA Kings? We have game 2s tonight, and they haven't played game 1? How does that make any sense? Are they trying to build up like the anticipation? Because it is a highly anticipated series. The problem, of course, is because of the stupid nature of the NHL setup, you realize this? This is like the 4th year in a row we've gotten this matchup. I'm on the Kings, so call me an idiot. Right? That's insanity, expecting the same result over and over. Well, I think it's going to go differently this time. I got to be the first to admit I think the Kings are going to win, but I also feel like I made the play 3 months ago. I don't know why this series hasn't started.
And you're going to feel even worse like after the series and 2 series from now, because here's the reality. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, Tom, but all of these sports have expanded their playoffs so much that the product is watered down and the postseasons take way too long. Hockey's going to take forever into the summer. NBA into the summer. Baseball, when it gets started and no one's watching because football's happening, starts way too early and ends like in Thanksgiving at this point. All the expansion of all these postseasons, it actually hurts the sport, but it makes them money, so they don't care. And finally, Tom, 4:36 out here, 7:36 by you. We are officially getting tip-off, Knicks and Pistons.
Oh, I know. It's about time. All right, I've had a lot of guys waiting a while. Let me pay off my T's, get to some calls here. 888-623-3646. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. Welcome to a VSiN Live on a Monday. SiriusXM. Channel 82, but also on YouTube and all the great places you find the fine VSiN folks. Let's go live to David in Los Angeles, California. David, your turn, VSiN Live. How are you?
Tom Byrne back at 4 p.m. on the West Coast. Am I dreaming? I love this. Good to talk to you again, Tom. Thanks for taking
Dustin
my call.
tried to. So did his buddy Patty Mawar. But they couldn't get rid of me, man. Product was too good. Go ahead.
All right. Good to talk to you again, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Thank you, Dustin, as well, for taking my call here. I actually want to talk some NFL draft, and I wanted to hear both of you on this one, as well as any callers who want to join in. And I've been thinking about this topic lately. For lack of a better term, I'm going to call these players draft regrets. And again, it's only for a lack of a better term. They're not actual regrets. And what I mean by that is these are not draft busts. These are players who were taken in the draft and were productive for their teams, but unfortunately, they also happen to be taken shortly before a superstar player who was better than them. I'll give you a couple examples. 1998, the Titans took Kevin Dyson. He was very productive on the right end of the Miracle, Music City Miracle, on the wrong end of the 1 yard short, catching the Super Bowl, right? He was great for them for a number of years. Unfortunately, he was also taken very shortly before the Vikings took Randy Moss. Couple of years ago, no, 2014, excuse me, not even a couple of years ago, the Vikings take Anthony Barr at number 9. Who was very good for their defense, made them an elite defense for a number of years. It was just unfortunate that the next defensive player off the board a couple of picks later was Aaron Donald. So I want to hear from you guys to hear what are some of your biggest draft, quote-unquote, regrets.
Oh, there's a lot of them. David, the first one that jumps to my brain, believe it or not, I'm going back. Mike Mamula, remember him, the great defensive player from Boston College, got after quarterback.
Oh, don't remind me.
He was great in the combine. Well, that's why I went here for you. He was great in the combine, and the Eagles take him early. Oh, God, was that a disgrace. Dustin, let me hear from you. First guy is?
Oh, I'm going to say one that I maybe is a little bit weird because he just won Offensive Player of the Year for your Eagles, but Saquon Barkley in 2018 at number 2.
They took him.
You can't. The whole team needed to be rebuilt. You can't take a running back in that spot. More on that to come because I did place my first NFL draft bet today, and it involves a running back, and it has him going to a team at 13-1. I see a team as 13-1 potentially trading up for him, but Bijan Robinson, outside of Saquon, last one to go in the top 10, went at number 8. You can't take a running back at number 2. I'm sorry. If you're a team taking a running back in the first round, it's because the rest of the infrastructure is in place for you to be a Super Bowl contender, and that's the last piece you need. At that point, Quentin Nelson, the offensive guard out of Notre Dame, was the guy I wanted. But then you look at the quarterbacks who went in that draft. Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round of that draft. There were a lot of players in 2018 you could have went with other than Saquon Barkley. And I don't know if Dave Gettleman would still have a job, but either way, it would have been a better draft pick than Saquon Barkley in that spot.
We'll do some NFL draft. Trevor Sikkema is going to join us. He, of course, Pro Football Focus's lead NFL analyst. We'll do that 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. It doesn't feel like the cash cow once was the NFL draft, but I know guys like putting a few shekels on it. Can't do it in Pennsylvania legally. I mean, you could go to the offshore and maybe some exchanges, but not a lot of liquidity there. But you always want to shop around if you can. All right, let me get to Brooklyn Jay at AAA Mad Dog 6. Yo, Jay, what's happening? You're on VSiN Live.
Peace, Tom. Peace, Dustin. Peace.
Yo.
Pray all is well with y'all guys. Peace. Man, I was looking forward to, like, let's give our hats off to Sagan, man. Like, he's a monster. Like, he's a young problem, yo. Like, I love his game. I love what he brings.
Shangoon, you mean? Alperen Shangoon? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I call him. I call him Sagoon. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out who the heck you were talking about.
He's He's a dollar store Jokic. Dollar store Jokic.
That's what I've said. Yeah, very poor man's Nikola Jokic. Yep.
Facts. And I love the way he brings his overall game. And he's a young man, and I think he's the leader of Houston, along with Jalen Green, who didn't have kind of like a good game yesterday. But let's tip our hats off. Let's tip our hats off to Stephon Curry. Come on, man. Like, his first 3 shots were out in the 3. And I was just like, dang, he may be off today. But then he went around the pick and caught 2 back-to-back layups. And that's where people don't give him credit on. He is a baller, man. He knows how to get himself involved. Then he started cooking up. But he saw that the basketball go through the hoop, and I was like, oh, it's about to be a long night for Houston, because they got him off the game for the first 3 shots where he missed them. You know what I mean? He was 0 for 3 for his first attempts. But then he just started taking the ball to the Baja, a.k.a. the hole, to the basket, and it was a wrap from there. So I just want to give that man credit for doing what he did. And once I saw him, go back-to-back layups, I went ahead and turned the TV off. I was just like, it's going to be a long night for Houston. And they're about to lose tonight. So I just want to give credit to Stephon Curry for just doing what he do, keeping his rates beat per minute under 80 and just pacing himself. And that's what a lot of young men need to learn how to do, keep their rates beats per minute in a moderate range between 80 and 90. I love y'all like cook food. Y'all be blessed on purpose. Thank you for allowing me to demonstrate tonight. Peace.
All right, Jay, we appreciate you, too. Listen, Houston's going to be better. They're not going to shoot 6 of 29 from 3. If you look at the efficiency numbers, taking the 3-ball out, Houston was actually more efficient in the game. That is going to be a war in Game 2. And Draymond Green does not like Alperen Shangoon. I love Shangoon's response to Green. He's not intimidated even in the least, nor should he be. At this point, Shangoon's the better player.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I was on Shangoon over rebounds and assists. I was surprised second half. We were pacing well. He was not getting the boards in the second half for Houston. But back to BKJ's point, it's a weird thing to say because Stephen Curry is like 6'2", 6'3", and he's lanky still. And, we don't think about his athleticism as much because he's, mostly like the greatest shooter we've ever seen. That's most of what people think of him as. Yep. But he is one of the greatest mismatches in the history of the NBA simply because he gets across half court and he's ready to shoot right away, and you have to defend him from there on, and he can make anything happen. But he's one of the greatest mismatches, and it's actually remarkable at this point in his career, he's able to still dial it up the way he has.
All right, you can get in 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Here on Mad Dog Sports Radio Channel 82. It's VSiN Live. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. Also, you can find us on YouTube for free if you want to stare at our ugly mugs. And do me a favor, do it, because if I'm going to have to set up the Zoom setup, I think it's got to be worth something, I would hope. So make sure we get some people there as well on YouTube, if you don't mind. 12-9, make it 12-11. Thompson just scored. Osora Thompson brings the Pistons to within 1. 12-11, 5:50 left in the first. Number really hasn't moved from the opener. I took it -6.5. I did take the Knicks. I know a lot of sharp people like the Pistons +7. We shall see here at the Garden. When we return, Dustin, I need an answer. Who are you more concerned about? The L.A. Lakers or the L.A. Clippers? It's VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
We got a feisty hockey game in our nation's capital. Caps, Canadiens, 0-0. Washington power play down to 50 seconds. We shall see. That's a game one in an Eastern Conference first round matchup. Of course, we got eyes on the Knicks and the Pistons. It's 16-15 New York, 4:45 left in the first at the Garden. We'll keep up to date on both games, and we'll let you know what the number is live as we move it along as well. All right, you had some time to think about it. Lakers get embarrassed. J.J. Redick tells us after the game, well, we weren't ready for the physicality. You have a bunch of veterans on the team led by LeBron James. That's a little surprising. Clippers, we've been over it. Great game. Kawhi turned it over way too much. You know, obviously the turnover there, last possession was awful, but I don't want to kill Harden. He kept them in the game. Who are you more concerned about from L.A., the Clips or the Lakers?
It's going to be the Lakers, and I do think they win game two. I love them in game two. I love the zigzag spot with them. But the reason I'm concerned is you look at how that game played out with Minnesota, and when you came into the series, what's the weak spot for LA, Tom? It's the size. It's the lack of a big. It's potentially getting beat on the glass. But you see what happened in the game. They got beat from the outside. Jalen McDaniels was out of his mind, 3 of 3 from 3. Randall, 4 of 6. Edwards, 4 of 9. Gobert only had 6 rebounds in the game. If you thought there was a way for Minnesota to exploit what the Lakers lacked, it was down low. It was second chance opportunities. It was the rebounding. And it was actually the three-point shooting that did them in. LeBron was a no-show. He didn't do much. He didn't really help the cause. Depth for LeBron not to drop 25, 30 points in a playoff game against a team like Minnesota, where, say whatever you want about them, they're pretty deep, and they defend. And they have a lot of guys who can beat you in a bunch of different ways. And if Jaden McDaniels is going to step up and shoot that way, I don't love it for the Lakers. However, I do think they find a way to rebound here and still win the series.
98-year-old Alex Ovechkin has just scored again. Dude is incredible. 1-0 Washington because of Ovechkin's goal there. All right, so you think it's the Lakers. They're 5.5, 6. Zigzag theory in play, I guess. More desperate team for sure. I'd call it a must-win at home. I still can't get there in terms of laying that number. I'd probably do Lakers or nothing, but, you know, I look at the way I model it, I actually would have value on the other side. I'm not going to play either. I think I'm staying away from that game.
Yeah, look, if I'm going to bet it, I'll bet first half because you know they'll come out inspired. You lay 3.5 in the first half instead of a bigger number for the game. And you just know that you're going to get a focused, dialed-in home team in the Lakers. I'll lay 3.5, have them go into the breakup 4, and we'll cover that number.
Yeah, you're taking the old game 3, down 2-0, going back home philosophy, right? The odds makers, you know, they're on top of that now. It's not a cash cow like it once was. 888-623-3646. Bill at Chevy Chase, Maryland, you're up. Bill, welcome to VSiN Live.
Hey guys, thanks. Hey, before I get to the NBA, are you guys going to be breaking down the PayPal odds? I mean, do you like the price on Cardinal Tagway? What do you think?
Is that a thing? Is that available on an international? Really? On the offshore? I didn't know that. Interesting.
Absolutely. You can get odds on what name the Pope will take. There's even a prop bet. So if you want to take Innocent Urban, which was very popular during the Middle Ages, you can get 10-1. You can get 100-1 if you take Pope Donald or Pope Elon, at least according to what I've found.
Wow. I can't imagine you're getting any sort of value. You know what? I might have an in. My uncle's a priest. I don't think the local archbishop likes him very much, but maybe I could see if he could do a little digging.
Well, I'm also
information.
I'm also hearing some reports, actually, that Travis Hunter also wants to play corner receiver and be the next Pope next year, so that's affecting his draft stock this week, Tom.
Right.
Yeah, well,
so turning to the NBA, a couple of things. You know, first of all, I think the Oklahoma City win was a bigger win just for this reason. You know, all these guys, and Tom, I've talked to you about this, and that people may just be overlooking the obvious of how great this team is, and they're too young, and this and that. You know, they just serve notice. Okay, all you people, and you know who you are. Could you do this? Because we all know you couldn't. It was kind of like laying down their marker and saying we're very good. So I think that was big. I think the Clippers have to be concerned because, Denver looked out of sync the whole game. Everything, and now Murray's been hurt, so he might take a while to get back to playoff Murray. As you said, Tom, Jokic was off a little, and they still won. I'd be worried if I were the Clippers about that. And then just one thing on Cooper Flagg. Here's one that occurred to me. Do you think he'll be as good a player as the guy who I think is very underrated and unrecognized, Paolo Banchero?
Interesting. Banchero is a good player. You don't talk about him all that much. He's with Orlando. Now they don't have Suggs. You knew they weren't going to beat Boston. I did take the Celtics at half. You knew they were coming back in that game. You know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say Flagg, but not by margin.
Yeah, I just think he's a little bit more versatile on the wing where he could be a point guard. He could be a small forward. I mean, he could even play power forward. I think the versatility of Flagg may be more conducive to winning. But, yeah, I think he'll be better than Paolo Banchero.
Let's go to Art. He's in Los Angeles, California. Dustin, he's with us on VSiN Live. Yo, Art, how you feeling?
Gentlemen, good evening. Thanks very much for having me on. This is great to have both you guys on again. This is fun.
Thanks, dude.
Appreciate it.
Regarding my Lakers, guys, man, it was really concerning to see them. I didn't think that we came out with any focus, with any intensity. We were super flat. It was a bad game to have a bad game. And I got to believe, guys, that with the professionalism that we've got, starting with LeBron and Luka, I think that we're going to right this ship in game 2. I'm with Dustin. I definitely think that we'll come out. Dustin, I would just go out and play the entire game and take the Lakers. I love the Lakers in the first half for sure. I'm not a betting guy, and I probably don't know what I sound like, but I really think that the Lakers are going to come out and take game 2. And look, it's a playoff series, guys, so you could throw out anything that the Lakers or the Wolves did in the regular season. Everything is tighter. Everything is condensed. Every possession matters. And the X's and O's will certainly matter. I got to believe, guys, that Redick is going to make major adjustments, especially with how we guard that perimeter, because you guys are right. They shot lights out in that particular game. So we got to get up in these guys' faces on the perimeter. The rim protection didn't hurt us too much, Dustin. I know you made reference to it. That didn't play a big factor in it.
No, Art, that was my point. I thought that would be the Achilles heel. I did not think it'd be the three-point shooting and lack of defense on the perimeter.
Yeah, it was really just them coming out and muscling us, man. I mean, really taking us out of our game, taking the crowd out of the game. Certainly did not like that first step. Not a good look. Optics, not a good look with vibe. But I got to believe that tomorrow night we come back and we take that second game.
I would think so, too. I mean, there's a reason they're 5.5, 6. So we're going to find out if J.J. Redick, who everybody wanted to give all these flowers, he got the 3 seed. They had the same number of wins as Mike Malone, who's looking for a job. We'll see if he's capable of making adjustments. And we'll see if these role players are going to be all right with just watching Luka Doncic be a ball hog. And I love Luka. All right? That was the dumbest trade in the NBA's history, giving him to the L.A. Lakers. But at the same time, how do you have LeBron James with your team and 1 assist? LeBron did nothing, relatively speaking. For LeBron, he did nothing. Their defense, this just in, still stinks. I'm not quite as brazen as you guys. Well, they're definitely going to win game. But, yeah, it's at home. It's game 2. Their season on the line. Yes, they should be the favorite. If all odds were equal, I'd take the Lakers too. But I'm not running the later points. And
when Minnesota goes home, I like the spot for them as well. Lakers win game 2. Minnesota wins game 3. I think Minnesota's been playing some of the best basketball over the course like the last 6-7 weeks in the NBA.
Yeah, and we know they're dangerous. They went to the big run last year. They went to the Western Final. And so we'll see what Anthony Edwards has up his sleeve. He's a lot of fun. There was a lot of nonsensical, is Anthony Edwards the next Michael Jordan conversations last year between the talking heads. We all knew that was nonsense, but there aren't many guys more fun to watch for sure. All right, straight ahead, Dave DeFore of The Athletic on the NBA playoffs when we return. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. VSiN Live.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Live betting reaction to all the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
Well, the Pistons off to another good start. We'll see if they can hold it this time. 25-18, seconds left in the first quarter. The Knicks still a favorite of the live number. In fact, they're a $1.54 favorite. I'm seeing at DraftKings. The comeback plus $1.15 on Detroit. Again, that's DraftKings. You're going to want to shop around for obvious reasons. Dave DeFore, The Athletic. He joins us now in the NBA playoffs and more. Dave, first we'll start with the game currently in action. Detroit, you know what? They did an excellent job. It's 98-90 fourth quarter. Then, of course, we know what happens. New York goes on a 21-0 run. Looks like I might be wrong. But I felt like I was one of the few because I heard a lot of sharp people. +7 tonight. It's got to be the Pistons. I get the zigzag theory. I don't think they're in the same ballpark as the Knicks. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're dead on. The Knicks just have so much more talent. You know, they've got 4 guys that could put up 30 tonight. And I just think that makes a big difference. The Pistons have been a great story. And I think when you have a defense like this, it's going to give them a chance. Like, if this goes 6, I wouldn't be just completely shocked. But I do think the Knicks are just a much better team, and it's because of how good they are offensively. Although we're saying that as they're down, they scored 18 points in the first quarter. So take that with a grain of salt for tonight. But that offense for the Knicks is so high-powered. I just don't think the Pistons can hang.
Yeah, okay. Talk to me about both these teams. One, Pistons from last year to this year, what jumped out to you about the improvement? Like, what did they do differently? And then secondly, on the other end for the Knicks, what's gone wrong defensively for them? Why have they taken such a big step back this year?
Well, I'll start with the Knicks because Karl Anthony Towns is probably the biggest reason there. I mean, part of it is because of the way that they use him on offense. He can get cross-matched a lot. He's awful at the rim, actually protecting at the basket. The other thing is Mikal Bridges is not the defender that a lot of people think he is. Like, his reputation, I think, is a bit outsized for what he actually does when you're watching the film. Like, he's not really getting into guys, doesn't make a lot of contact. But their defense, I do believe it will be better in the playoffs just because they can ratchet up the contact and the intensity some in a way that you can't in the regular season. I just want to see it. But they also, no Mitchell Robinson for most of the year hurt them quite a bit. I think the chemistry between him and Cat defensively just never developed because, like, we saw Cat last year in the playoffs when he was with going up against Jokic with Gobert. I think that was one of the best defensive runs that he's ever had in his career. He was very physical with Jokic and really gave him trouble. Now Jokic still puts up numbers, but the reason Minnesota wins that series is largely because of the way that Cat was defensively. But this is a team that's geared toward the offensive end. Jalen Brunson is a big target on defense, but what he brings you on the offensive end makes that trade-off worth it. But there's a reason that the Knicks were 0-10 against the 3 best teams in the league. They're not at that level yet. They've got to find a way, somehow this summer, either rework the defense. Maybe they need a center, that goes next to Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know what they're going to do, but I do think they've got like a little bit of a personnel issue just to solve that problem. For the Pistons, I'll tell you the number one thing they did. They brought in Tobias Harris. You know what Tobias Harris does? He plays basketball games. He shows up. He gives you 18 a night, never complains. He can run a pick and roll. He's happy to be the second or third banana. He doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time. And then they brought in Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. They filled this team with veteran guys who have just been around and who show up to work every day. And then they got a coach in J.B. Bickerstaff that actually wanted to be there, which you would be amazed that there was a guy who was employed by an NBA team that didn't actually want the job, but they threw so much money at Monty Williams, there was no way he was going to turn it down. So I think just the vibes are totally different. J.B. Bickerstaff is a player's coach. That isn't to say that he's not a very good technical coach, but players respond very well to J.B. Bickerstaff. It's why he keeps getting all these interim jobs, or previously got all these interim jobs. Guys really like him. They trust him. And I think that's the biggest difference, man. They had a wholesale culture change. And that, you guys follow sports. That is one of the most important things for any team in any sport. If your culture sucks, if guys don't want to be there, if everybody's not grabbing onto the rope, well, you're not going to win any games. So I just think they made just a wholesale change, and man, what it paid off. I mean, JB Bickerstaff did an excellent job coaching up a defense that was non-existent last season. So yeah, it was huge turnaround.
Dave DeFord, The Athletic, joining us. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. Great to have you on a Monday VSiN Live. I'll ask you the same question I asked Dusty. More notable win. Two different kinds of wins, of course. Thunder or the Warriors out west?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
More notable win. The way the Warriors beat the Rockets relatively handily, or the way the Thunder destroyed, albeit the Grizzlies, but destroyed by 51 the Memphis squad.
I mean, I think it's got to be the Thunder, right? Like, it's Grizzlies. Like, they fired their coach. Their Defensive Player of the Year candidate has totally fallen apart. I mean, Jaren Jackson has been just MIA since he came back from injury. Ja Morant, he can't do it all on his own. Desmond Bane has a really great game, in the play-in, and it was odd to me that they just couldn't figure out a way to beat the Warriors. You would think a team that young that they would have had like a little bit of extra juice, but they had nothing. It just an absolute catastrophe of a season for the Grizzlies. But I think that the Thunder doing what they did, they beat a bad team that's in the playoffs, and they did it in a way that was absolutely dominant, just like they'd been all year. So I think that for the Thunder, that's the best way any team opened up the playoffs. I mean, obviously it's a 51-point win. I'm not saying anything enlightening there, but it stood out to me that they were serious. I mean, they looked so fresh that week off, and then the few weeks that they took where they were kind of picking their spots and resting guys had completely paid off in the way that they were able to play. I mean, Jalen Williams, that one lob that he caught, the energy that they have, I just think, man, the Thunder are electric.
Dave, I've annoyed people here because I'm one of the few people doubting the Thunder. I just have a lot of questions about them. Just, not a lot of veterans, not a lot of experience in the postseason. They haven't played a lot of close games, so I don't know what crunch time looks like going shot for shot with someone for this Thunder team. I absolutely acknowledge how awesome and historical and efficient they are on both ends of the floor. But I have questions about them. If someone was going to knock them off in the West, who do you think is the team that poses the biggest threat to knocking off the Thunder?
I mean, look, I have a hard time going against Nikola Jokic in anything. And now that he's also coaching the team, I think that maybe the Nuggets aren't as dangerous, but Jokic is. And this season series with them, it was a very interesting battle. And Isaiah Hartenstein kind of changes the equation a bit for the Thunder because they're not small anymore. They can play the double big, and Michael Porter Jr. is not doing much. But I don't know, man. I think if the Warriors can somehow make it, you just believe in that Steph Curry magic. But if I'm being completely honest, I think this is the Thunder's title to win. At this point, they checked every single box during the regular season, and the only argument I can come up with for them not winning the title is that they just haven't done it before. We watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not have a good game, and they beat the Grizzlies by 51. But it's the Grizzlies. I don't think Shai's got another game like that in him. I think that we saw the worst game he's going to have in the playoffs. And you mentioned going down the stretch shot for shot. Who's going to go up against them? The thing is, you've got big shot makers, but nobody has two anymore. Dallas, this was the secret to their sauce last year because they had Kyrie and they had Luka. You had two guys who could go back and forth. You could maybe make an argument that if the Lakers make it, they've got a good shot. You've got LeBron, you've got Luka, you've got Austin Reeves. I just don't see how anyone does it. The shot making may not even matter because the Thunder, just like the regular season, what was it, 54 double-digit wins? They may not have close games, until we get later on in the playoffs. So I feel like what we're looking at is a team that literally checks every box, and we want to try to find ways to poke holes in it. And if I was going to poke a hole, it's the Jalen Williams one. And we saw it last year, and we saw it at times during the regular season when defenses were taking Shai out of the equation. Jalen needs to be able to deliver. But Chet's back. And so now I think that they just have enough guys. Isaiah Joe is going to have a 30-point game in the playoffs. Like, what are you going to do if you're another team where you're playing the Thunder and they really have 7 starters? Think about it. Isaiah Hartenstein might start. They have so much at their disposal, so many tools, so many options. I don't think it's going to be a very close playoffs.
All right, well, it certainly was close between Denver and the Clippers game 1. Clips, too many turnovers, 20 of them. Kawhi had 7. Didn't do too much down the stretch, relatively speaking. Harden played great until that lazy kind of pass that went off his hand. Are the Clippers in trouble?
I mean, I think so. You have a game like that in Denver. Denver's a really hard place to play, and you can maybe even chalk up Kawhi's rough night to that, from a conditioning standpoint. But that's one you needed to get. To let it go to overtime even was a huge problem. But then to lose it in overtime, I think they'll be thinking about that one for the rest of the series, however it goes. And the last thing you want to do is give Jokic a game. That was the game where Jokic didn't know what you were doing, didn't know what was coming, and now he does. And I just think that your chance to beat the Nuggets, and especially because of how good Jokic is, you have to capitalize on those times where you do punch them in the mouth. And again, the Clippers, for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters almost of a basketball game, they had that game won. I really did think, and with the way they closed the season, I wasn't surprised. This was the number 1 offense and defense from March 6th through the end of the season. I wasn't surprised to see him play so well against the Nuggets, but the playoffs just a different beast, and to be able to steal that first game, I think would have been huge. But now, I feel like all the momentum goes to the Nuggets. The game plan worked out well for the Nuggets. You look at the way that they scored down the stretch, and honestly, I think that the way that they attacked James Harden with Aaron Gordon, that is something to watch. They got Harden in foul trouble. If you can get him off the court, man, that really helps your defense quite a bit, because like the Nuggets, they don't want to have to guard these guys. They want them off the court. That defense can't hold up to relentless pick and roll from James Harden. So you got to find ways to get him off the court. And I thought they did a really great job of attacking him on the other end, making him work in the dunker spot and play defense. That is secret to success for the Nuggets.
Dave, is the 2-man game between Jokic and Murray enough, though, to carry them? Obviously, we've seen Jokic carry this organization, the last few years, but this is the least amount of help he's ever had. It's really just those two, especially in late game situations. Is there someone else on Denver who you can rely on? Notice I said rely on, because Russell Westbrook he's not included in that statement. Is there someone else that they can rely on to step up and help them?
No. It's going to have to be Jokic, and it's going to have to be Murray. And for the first 3 quarters of that game, I think Murray was not aggressive enough. When he gets Ivica Zubac on a switch, he needs to beat that switch. Think about if Jokic got someone small on a post up and didn't score. Think about the way that we would discuss it. Oh, well, Jokic, he gets I don't know, Nico Batum in the post and he can't get a bucket. I feel the same way about when I watch Jamal Murray not able to turn the corner on a guy like Ivica Zubac. And Zubac is great. Don't get me wrong. He is an excellent defender, and he can defend on the perimeter. But Jamal Murray is supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be he's like the fake all-star, right? Like he's supposed to be the all-star teammate for Jokic, but he isn't. He never has quite reached that level. And the one time he did, they win a title. So, I think that if maybe he was in better shape or something, it would be an easier road. I think it's all about Jokic. If Murray can give him something, then that's going to help him out. But this is going to be like an epic playoff run if Jokic can drag the Nuggets anywhere, even out of the first round. Honestly, I think the numbers he's going to have to put up to do it is going to make Jokic even look like he's somebody else. Like it's just when we look at this team. And we look at guys like MPJ putting up 3 points. I don't know what he's even supposed to do with that. But if Murray will just turn it on the way that we know that he does in the playoffs, I think they've got as good of a shot as anybody.
Yeah, it was strange seeing Jokic miss those 2 free throws down the stretch. Seemed for Jokic to be a little out of sorts. All right, Lakers, Dave. Dave DeFore, the Athletics, where you can find them. Man, and J.J. Redick tried to convince us, we weren't ready for their physicality. What's it, Tuesday night in Orlando in January? I'm confused. How are you not prepared? We're going to find out if J.J., who's going to be judged this season based on the way this series goes, not on 50 wins in a regular season, does he have the requisite adjustments to help the Lakers win in Game 2?
I mean, they need more from LeBron James. I heard you say that, in the previous segment, and you're dead on. I didn't feel LeBron at all in the game, either end. And remember, part of this great run that they've been on the last 4 months is because LeBron hit another level defensively.
Yeah.
It's making me a little bit worried, guys. I'm nervous about LeBron's injury status. He tweaked that groin the last week of the season. And I am nervous that what we're seeing is maybe a diminished LeBron. And I don't have any reporting on that. This is just me watching the one game and saying, what the heck is wrong with LeBron James? I mean, Luka showed up big time. But man, the Timberwolves showed up and they're huge. This is one of the discounted things about the Wolves and their success the last 2 seasons. That's a big team. You've got obviously Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid, but Julius Randle played bully ball against the Lakers the whole game. That was the secret to the Wolves' win. And then you have Anthony Edwards, of course, who is a big game player, loves the limelight. And I just think this is a team that's not scared of much. And there's not much of a difference. Like, there really wasn't much of a difference in their results in the regular season. The Timberwolves had a weird year. They would win against good teams, and then they would lose against a bad team, and we would all just wring our hands and say, wow, they really lost the Karl Anthony Towns trade. But it seems like they've kind of figured something out here in the last 2 months, and they really have an identity now, and they are just big. They mashed the Lakers, I thought, and if they can do that again in game 2, I mean, if somehow the Wolves can win game 2, which they probably shouldn't, if we're looking at the math, but they probably shouldn't. But if they could, I mean, that's a wrap for the Lakers. But it's all about how the Lakers respond, I think, to that first quarter when they come back. They had a great first quarter in game 1, and then it all fell apart. Can they come back with the same energy that they started the series with and then maintain it through the whole game? Because it's tough, man. Like, basketball is such a momentum sport. And, this is what happened with the Clippers losing the game in overtime. You let the Nuggets kind of get on a run, get on a roll, and then all of a sudden, hey, they have a little bit more momentum than you, and they're blowing up your things a little bit more. And with the Wolves, that's what happened. They were just overwhelming for the Lakers, and LeBron James in particular had no response. So I'm looking forward actually in game 2. I'm only really going to pay attention to LeBron for the first quarter because I want to see what kind of energy and intensity is he coming with, because that's going to make the difference for the Lakers.
Very interesting, Dave. Appreciate you taking out some time on a Monday for us. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Dave DeFore of The Athletic. How about that? Little juice there at the end, especially with LeBron. We got eyes on him in game 2. A little later tonight, Clippers, Nuggets. We'll update you on what the pregame line is and more. Is it a must-win for the Clips? That's next. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. You're on VSiN Live, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, Detroit is scoring at will. Where is the Knicks defense? Come on, Tibbs. 48-35. I don't blame Dustin. He just took an in-game play of the Knicks plus 3.5. A sizable, relatively speaking, favorite down double digits this early. Probably a good play on your part.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those plays where we saw what happened the other night. Pistons didn't know how to play with a lead. This is something that happens in football. It happens in basketball. And with young teams specifically, I look for ways to fade them in game because sometimes these teams just change what they're doing, what got them there, and then the more veteran teams able to make better adjustments while they're down. And the Knicks look sloppy. Every time I look up, it's Jalen Brunson getting a bucket, yet every time I look up, the Knicks are down at least 10 points. That's a bit concerning. But again, what we saw the other night was a young team on the road, up 8, end up just melting down. Obviously, you can't play for a 21-0 run like you did with the Knicks the other night. But the reality is, I think the Knicks are capable of scoring in spurts and closing this thing and losing by less than 4. That's what I need.
If Detroit ever did hold on, boy, that would give a little juice to Game 3 in Detroit. Motown will be hopping. First playoff win since 2008, if that's the case. At least the Knicks are starting to defend a little bit, because the Pistons now have gone nearly 3 minutes without a field goal, yet they're still up 8. So that tells you all you need to know. 3 minutes left in that second quarter there. The Caps still up on the Canadiens, 12 minutes left in the second. It's 1-0. All right, a little later on, Game 2, it'll be about 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. We're going to get the Nuggets and the Clippers in Game 2. Look, you and I, we've talked about this already. I think it's a very difficult game to handicap, because I like the Clippers pre-series. I liked them before Game 1. I was just surprised when I saw Nuggets plus 1.5. I'm like, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. No, I got to take the Nuggets. I mean, how do you close 2.5, 3? There's no injury that I know of. You're at home in the altitude. I mean, that seems almost disrespectful to Denver to be 1.5, unless you're just, hey, zigzag, period, end of discussion. Zigzag theory, it can't just be that and nothing else, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple elements to that, right? It's one, the effort Denver had to exude out there to come back, force overtime, win that game. You can't rely on that kind of effort, because the reality is the Clippers outplayed them for most of that game. Outside of the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, the Clippers were by far the better team. They just got a little sloppy with the basketball. Denver ran in transition. They scored in bunches, and they end up winning. The question I would have if I was laying that, or I was backing the Clippers tonight, would be, did they blow their ability to control the series the other night? So while I'm also talking about Denver having to get back up emotionally after a big-time emotional win, I question the Clippers, and do they see this as all right, we'll lose in Denver, we'll go back home and we'll win and we'll figure things out down the road? Did they miss a big opportunity, and does that carry over into Game 2? That would be my concerns. But look, the problem with Denver and backing them is actually Jokic to me. And I love Jokic. I think Jokic should have been MVP, Tom. But it was a grind for him. Zubac's making it very difficult. At some point, there's some attrition there. At some point, it's going to wear on him. He was 12 of 24 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. He didn't really get to the free throw line. I think all the credit goes to Zubac for the Clippers in limiting him. And I have a lot of questions about who's going to step up and help the Denver Nuggets offensively. It's not Christian Brown. Aaron Gordon's focused defensively and shutting down Kawhi Leonard. So you're asking Michael Porter Jr. to show up. And honestly, midway through the season, Michael Porter Jr. looked like an elite scoring threat. I don't know what's happened lately, but he's disappeared a bit. He was benched late on Saturday in that game. That concerns me. I would prefer to back the Clippers, but I don't love it enough to play it. That's why I only have a player prop in that game.
Well, keep an eye on all the baseball as well. How about Max Meagher versus the Reds? I'm happy about it on the first 5 in full game. He's done for the night. 6 innings pitched. Dustin, you told me during the break, the 14 Ks. Wow, I didn't realize that. I knew he had to give up any runs. Did give up 5 hits, didn't walk any. 16 whiffs on his slider alone. Woo!
Yeah, he's an interesting little player, Tom. He's now strung together a few really good starts this year. 6 innings, 14 Ks today. Last time out, he had 8 strikeouts in 6 innings against Arizona. I mean, he's got swing and miss stuff. He had 8 strikeouts at Atlanta on the 4th of April, 8 and 6 innings there, 7 in his debut against Pittsburgh in just 5 2/3. He's got elite stuff. He's a big-time arm. The problem is the Miami Marlins are just not worth paying attention to, but maybe once every fifth day, they have found their little Paul Skeens, a mini version of Paul Skeens, where you think once every fifth day, you may want to turn on a Marlins game.
2-0 your Mets are beating my Phillies top 5 there. By the way, I like that little player drop that you just gave us. Little doggy-esque. Good little talk show host. That's what he says when he talks. Tom Byrne. Not bad, not terrible. Good little. He loves to throw that little in there. It's like a little, backhanded slap, which I noticed you threw into Max Meagher. All right, AAA Mad Dog 6 gets you guys involved in the conversation. We got a doctor in the building. It's Dr. Falcon from Los Angeles, California, on VSiN Live. Hello, Doc. How are you? Welcome.
All right. Great dialogue, gentlemen. Entertainment-wise, the best 2 series are the Knicks in Detroit and Clippers in Denver. Out here in L.A., the Clippers are kind of panicking. I wouldn't say the Clipper players, but the fans, because they had it the other night and blew it. And it's one of those things where this is one of the most intriguing Clipper games, given that Kawhi Leonard is healthy now. And what kind of effort James Harden from game 1, he gave a good effort. Can that be sustained, gentlemen? As far as the Knicks and Detroit, Detroit should have won the game 1, but that's neither here nor there. But, I just want your take on, the Clippers in Denver and Detroit and the Knicks.
Well, again, I don't think the Pistons are in the Knicks neighborhood, but I could be wrong. They're up 8. Now, we've seen this before. In fact, it was 98-90, fourth quarter, and not only did they not cover the spread, they didn't keep it single digit. So, they're not home yet. It's a long game in the NBA. It's a game of runs. You always hear that. I would think the Knicks are going to solidify the defense somewhat. I look at some of the shooting numbers. That'll probably tell the story here, some of the variants. I don't think that's going to be a long series. I'd be shocked, Doc, if Clippers-Nuggets is not a long series, right? But then again, and I do think there's a good chance Nuggets win tonight, then, maybe I'll have to reconsider. But I went in of the mindset that it's going to be a long series. I've remained in that space. I just think that these teams are very evenly matched. I think the Clippers have been lying in the weeds, really in the West all year, as long as Kawhi was healthy. But that's the thing that I think we need to discuss more. And great call, Doc, per usual. Dustin, we got to talk about Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it's all relative to our expectation. But we're always sitting here giving him all the flowers in the world. Well, if Kawhi is healthy, we know how great he is. He wasn't that great. He had 7 turnovers. I don't want to hear about the box score numbers. He had 7 turnovers. And down the stretch, he did absolutely nothing. He had a nice fall-away jumper with about 2:20 left. That's it. He scored 4 points in the final 12 minutes plus overtime. They can't win if that's going to be Kawhi's output.
He was really sloppy late. That was a big issue for them because he obviously was a big part of them getting the lead, also a big part of them blowing the lead. His knee is always the built-in excuse about where we stand with his health, what percent he's going to play, what percent he's going to be at when he's on the floor. I agree with you there. I think the big question I have when it comes to Clippers-Denver, though, is how banged up is the winner of that series going to be for the next round? How much further is that series going to go than everyone else is dealing with in the opening round, where some of these look like they're going to be over very quickly, and we expect that one to go the distance? I wonder what that team looks like that wins this series and how difficult it is in the next one for them.
Yeah, fair. Mikal Bridges is having himself a night. Hit a 3 to get the Knicks within 5, but Cade Cunningham bailed out a whistle late in the shot clock. Is going to give Cade some foul shots late in this second quarter. You too can get involved in the conversation. 888-623-3646 as we'll take your phone calls on top of the NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs as well. The Capitals, I did not see who scored it. The Capitals are up 2-0. Oh, it's Anthony Beauvillier. So there you go. So second goal for the Capitals. The Canadiens in some trouble. When's the last time, by the way, a Canadian team won the Cup?
93, I believe.
93, that sounds right. Man, it's been a while. You can have your 4 nations. You're not having our Stanley Cup, damn it. Or maybe it's their Stanley Cup. I don't know.
Well, I mean, no, it's ours at this point. I mean, statute of limitations, right? We've had it for so long. You can't claim it's yours anymore. Like, we have ownership of it. There's not that many options, right, Tom? When you look at the options this year, there's not many Canadian. Well, first off, you're going to have the Battle of Ontario. One of the options is going to get knocked out against another one right there with Toronto and Ottawa. Right. Because of that, they're limited on who can win the Cup. And so America's going to end up hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup once again.
Connor Hellebuck, he's their hope, I think. I don't know if I'd feel good about it. The guy was awful against the Avalanche last year. Obviously was outdone by Jordan Binnington, who he's now gone up against in this series with the Blues, of course. I do think the Jets are live, and I know Jonathan Davis told us he thought that the Panthers are a little too banged up, and he might be right about that. But, man, if they're healthy, I don't know that anybody's beating Florida. The Stanley Cup playoffs, though, are so difficult to handicap. They really, I mean, you can look at expected goals and, you know, the Poisson distribution. You could model it as well as anybody. But it's just so difficult to predict because all you got to do is look at the history of the sport. When you get a goalie who stands on his head for the organization, they still series. I mean, I don't even know why you play 80-plus games. I do know why, because you need the home gate. 80-plus games in a regular season to decide what? Because then the President's Trophy never wins.
Yeah, I mean, look, we say in the NBA, like a superstar can carry a team to a certain level in the postseason.
Yep.
We say in baseball, like a pitcher can get hot and carry a team. We've seen bats occasionally get hot, but the impact is still limited. They're, you know, one of 25 guys, one of like 9 guys in the lineup on any given 10 guys in the lineup on any given day. In hockey, it's totally different. If that goalie gets hot at the right time and your team can just find a way to score a goal here or there and that goalie's out of their mind, you can make a run here. Speaking of goalies, by the way, I do like tomorrow in Devils Hurricanes. I'm going to go under 5.5 in that game. I was paying attention to those two teams in game one. Carolina was able to get scoring early against New Jersey. New Jersey not as strong offensively, obviously without Jack Hughes, without some defensemen as well. I like the under in that one because I think Carolina gets up and then they start playing prevent. They start playing dump and chase because they know the Devils can't score on them. They shore up the defense. So I like under 5.5, juiced at -130, but I still like it.
Look at you with the hockey jargon. The dump and chase, the muck and grind I thought was going to be next. How about that? The fork check?
Well,
I thought you were really about to go all in.
In fairness, I do drink a big coffee before the show, and I mix it with fiber, and I do noticed. a dump and chase right before the show starts. Yeah.
Well, that I could see. That was predictable. But the hockey dump and chase reference I did not have on the bingo card. Nice job out of you. Stars a little later at home, plus the I don't even know what it is now, plus 140?
124.
I don't know. I'd have to look. What is it?
124.
Oh, it's 124. I thought it was a little higher. Okay, so maybe I'd still get involved with that.
Maybe there was some movement.
Team, but the Stars are playing for the series.
Let's see what the VSiN.com betting splits have going on with that game. We'll go to Circa first, the sharpest book in the country. And they are, where is the money line? There we go. A little bit more money on the Avs, 48% of the handle on just 42% of the bets. Over at DraftKings, I'm seeing a little bit more money on Dallas. Dallas, 45% of the handle on 37% of the bets. So a little different here. The sharper book says that it's the play is on Colorado, and the national book in DK says the play is the other way on Dallas.
Well, I can tell you this. Circa is the sharper book. Speaking of sharp, Rob Pelinka pulled the wool over the eyes of everybody in Dallas. Nico Harrison made one of the dumbest trades in the history of the NBA, which is saying something. But what might actually be dumber is what he said today. Wait until you hear what the Mav GM has told us now. That is next. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. You're on VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82.
covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, just when you thought Nico Harrison couldn't get any dumber, he goes out and doesn't exactly redeem himself with the press. After that fraudulent little session he had with the press about a week ago, this was a little bit more formal. This was the way it's supposed to be done. And obviously the tough questions came, but it's bewildering to think that he did not understand the connection between the superstars, 25 years of age, who came in much hyped, who lived up to the hype and then some, who just helped drag them to a final, who looked like he was capable of winning not just one but maybe multiple MVPs before all said and done. I know that was my prediction. He deals them. That's bad enough. But then he convinces us today that he didn't know that the town loved him that much? Are you kidding me? I'll say it again. He would have been better off had he just told ownership. If this truly was ownership not wanting to pay him, he would have been better off for his future just saying, you know what? I'm done. I can't make this decision, guys. I can't move on from Luka Doncic. But take a listen to Nico today tell us about the moment in the season when he may have decided to trade Luka.
It wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. When you live with someone for 3 years, you get to know their strengths and weaknesses. It was more about a change in philosophy in terms of how can we get a top defensive team that will help us win the championship. Again, this trade may never even have happened, but once the opportunity presented itself, we jumped on it.
Okay. Hold on. Can we go back a little bit, Tom? So it's not just that they traded him. It's that they traded him without shopping him. Right. And in doing so, they didn't get. Now, there is no fair value for Luka Doncic. Like, there wasn't a trade that a team was going to throw out there, but it was going to be better than, 32-year-old Anthony Davis, who's always injured. And if you had questions about Luka's availability later because of his conditioning, well, it doesn't make sense to add a guy who doesn't ever play, who's always out on the sideline in street clothes. And then, so you don't get the proper value. You bring in a guy back in Davis. You don't get Austin Reeves in the deal somehow. So it's not just trading Luka. It's not properly shopping him. It's not getting enough back in returning him. Then you go on a smear campaign to talk about Luka behind the scenes. He's out of shape. They don't trust him. The control of the team, the drinking, the this, the that. So that's added to the mix. And then he met with the media privately like 10 days ago and doubled down on all this defense wins championship talk. It is one of the worst operations of public relations damage control you're ever going to see in your entire life. Here's Nico Harrison also talking to the media today about, was there a moment in the season where he decided to trade Luka? Here's what he had to say.
One, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end. And so I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick. I think you add in Rick. The leadership that we have is really elite, and you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Please, Nico, do not pat yourself on the back. I think I've done a really good job here, he says.
Dude, How about this? He also made another trade that's been swept under the rug, and that's he traded Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin, who was hurt. Caleb Martin, who is a fine role player, but Quentin Grimes is making no money. And Quentin Grimes went to Philly and averaged almost 22 points a game, 4.5 assists, 5.2 rebounds. You think your backcourt, which couldn't shoot from the outside, that couldn't create their own shots, could have used Quentin Grimes down the stretch when all you had was big men? He says, I think I've done a pretty good job. If we even just take the Luka trade out of the equation, the Quentin Grimes trade is borderline fireable because why weren't you developing this guy?
Yeah, I can't understand it. He almost single-handedly ruined the Sixers' attempt at tanking because after Embiid went out, they figured, all right, we understand the Paul George contract's a mess. We got to make sure we keep the pick because if they finish with one of the worst 6 records, they got a good chance of keeping their pick. If they're not in the top 6, or the worst 6, I really should say, then they lose that pick to Oklahoma City. Quentin Grimes almost single-handedly ruined that. Nico Harrison almost ruined the chances of the Sixers getting the Cooper flag. Oh, my God. It's hard to believe. 888-623-3646.
And then finally, Nico Harrison was asked, why shouldn't you be fired? And here's what he said.
Yeah, we could have been better. As I look back on it in hindsight, we could have been better. Our goal is never to run away from the media. That's part of the job, and that's the obligation. But also, we wanted to talk after we had our roster. Our plan was to put Kyrie, Clay, AD, PJ, Lively on the floor so that people could see the vision. And unfortunately, that actually never came. So there was never a good time for us to do that.
But do we really think that team was winning a championship? I don't. I mean, I know their window of opportunity wasn't in the here and now, but I don't know that their roster was as stacked as he seemingly thinks it was. He thinks he has like the 2004 Pistons, a team that's going to have a couple scores, but most importantly, a dominant defense. The game has changed. Teams were averaging 93.4 points a game in 2004. That ain't the way it is anymore, okay? Yeah, you could still say things like defense wins championships because it sounds good, but really it doesn't. If you can't score, you're not going to win in sports today.
If I told you that, you know what? Your team is a perfect example. Ready? I could tell you you're a team that your best player is a center or your best player is a 2 or 3. If it's I'll say 4 or 5. It's a power forward or center, or it's a shooting guard or small forward. Which would you prefer, all talent being equal?
At this point, I'd have to say the wing.
Absolutely. It's a win. Yeah. We're playing a positionless game. He decided to say, not just double down on defense, I'm doubling down on size. I've got Daniel Gafford. I've got Anthony Davis. I actually like PJ Washington, but there's only so many spots in today's NBA for that much size, that many guys on the floor. You're going to have to run and transition with teams that want to shoot the ball from beyond the arc. I don't understand thinking that you're just going to twin tower these teams with 2 bigs on the floor when those teams have 3 guys shooting 40% from 3.
100%. All right, they're still at the half at the Garden. Pistons lead 55-49 over the Knicks. Caps up 2-0 on the Canadiens. Jets and Blues even at a goal apiece midway through the second period. Let's get back out to you guys at 888-623-3646. Monica in Pennsylvania next. Mad Dog Sports Radio's VSiN Live. Hello, Monica.
Hey, Tommy. I don't understand what the purpose of Nico Harrison's comments were today. Like, I don't know why you would even make that public. Now, the only thing I can understand is that he either has signed or is going to sign a massive extension with the Mavericks because ownership wanted him gone. And he's just a fall guy for what ownership's desires were, not wanting to pay him all that money. Because I don't know what he's accomplishing by him saying I didn't know the pulse of how well liked Luka was. What are you accomplishing?
Nothing. It's stupid. Even if that is the case, you can't admit it to the public. You cannot, under any circumstances, admit that to the public. And if it is true, then the guy is just – you don't want to be nasty. He's got a job to do. But if you don't know that, what is it exactly you're doing in Dallas? How do you not realize what he means to the people there? I mean, God, they were I don't want to go too far, but they were not a franchise that people cared. I was going to say nobody cared about them like the Clippers in L.A. and the Nets in Brooklyn. In Dallas, they were getting less than a 1.0 rating locally for years prior to getting Luka Doncic.
Well, and the other question that could have been asked of him, maybe neither one of us can understand or can't understand why they didn't go to other teams, but fine. Why didn't you ask for more? Or just ask that question. Did you ask for more from the Lakers? Did you ask for the unprotected pick? Did you ask for Austin Reeves? Like, those questions haven't been asked. Like, really? It's just, again, I think this guy must be getting a ton of money privately. Ownership's just making him be he's getting beat up. He's on the target, and they're willing to give him a ton of money in extension that we're never going to hear about, all for him to be the face of this. You keep calling it the dumbest. I say it's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, right? I said that the night of. Great call, per usual, from Monica. The night of, I said, and I'm not usually one, and I probably should be, but I'm not one to run the social media with every single thought I have, like so many people have. They live their lives, my God. But even that night, I couldn't help myself. I'd open the app and say something. This is the dumbest trade in the history of the sport. And keep in mind, Dustin, there have been a lot of dumbass trades in the NBA's history.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things in my 40 years on this planet, Tom, where I can tell you where I was, and they were all like traumatic, horrible events, whether it's my life or historical that happened in the world, where I remember where I was when this happened, when 9/11 happened, when this happened. Yeah. I can remember, I can tell you exactly where I was when Luka Doncic was traded, because it's one of those where I just did not realize, I couldn't believe what was happening. My mind couldn't comprehend that the trade, 1, was happening, 2, it was to the Lakers, 3, that was the package they were getting, and there wasn't another tweet from Shams Charania coming out saying, oh, by the way, Dallas is also getting Austin Reeves, many draft picks, and they're getting a chunk of Lakers concession sales for the rest of the years. I didn't know how this made sense, how this was possibly the trade. To go full conspiracy with Monica, the big one is that the ownership group for the Dallas Mavericks, they want to get gambling legalized. They're in the casino business in the state of Texas. They're failing to do so. They're hemorrhaging money, and they did not want to pay him the supermax. And I say, if that is somehow found out to be true, they should be forced to sell the team, because if you own a sports franchise and your goal isn't to win championships, you shouldn't be in this business, because it is the single greatest ROI business plan you could ever have. Every single ownership group that buys a team in professional American sports, they end up selling it and making a ton of money years later. It is a guaranteed ROI.
Yeah, 100%. If you have a lousy ownership group, you're in major trouble. Good luck, and you're in Vegas. Good luck, Vegas baseball fans, with Fisher as your owner.
Oh,
He is not going to spend the money from mommy and daddy's Gap fortune. I'm sorry. He's not going to do that. He's not going to wake up one day, you know what? I'm in Vegas. Let me spend money. No, he's not going to do that. You'd be better off just waiting for, like the Knights, a franchise that you get to start on your own. So I think it's just an absolute mess. And by the way, the Dallas Mavericks are not going to have Kyrie Irving for a while. It's not like he's going to be there at the beginning of next year either. So they're already going to be behind the 8 ball.
He's also old, Tom.
Yeah,
he's also in his mid-30s at this point. We just forget because, he doesn't play that much too. He gets hurt a lot. On the A's moving to Vegas, I would tell you that every local out here, nobody wants them. Everyone wants an expansion team of their own. Nobody. The only people who wanted the A's were the people whose pockets would get lined by the A's coming here, and that's the government officials. That's it.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes some sense. All right, you two get involved. 888-623-3646. AAA Mad Dog 6. Detroit is up 57-49. Ooh, tough drive for Cade Cunningham. No finish, though. 57-49. I'm kind of conflicted in this game because I did decide last minute to take the Knicks, which looks like it could have been dumb. But I also would love to see the Knicks, from a fan standpoint, go down 1-1. Oh, God, I'd love to give my Nick producer, they all love the Knicks. I'd love to give them all the you-know-what in the world about going back to Detroit 1-1 and just seeing the Knick fan overreact to this loss. 57-52. I like your play, the in-game play, plus 3.5. There's a 3. Mikal Bridges is having a big night. I don't want to say career night, but maybe his best night in the Knick uniform offensively.
Here's the question, Tom. I got plus 3.5 on the Knicks in-game while we were on the air. I can get plus 3.5 on the Pistons now in-game, even though they're leading, and set up a 7-point middle where I can't lose on this game. That might be my move here.
It's not terrible. I don't think that's a bad play at all. I don't usually try to do that. I'd probably just settle for staying at the plus 3.5 with the Knicks and take the money, to be honest with you. But yeah,
I would tell you every time I do this.
Keep in mind, though, the playoffs, teams especially, even in the regular season at those numbers, you're going to get a lot of fouls, right? So, like, games don't land on 1, 2, those small numbers very often. Even if it's like 7 with like 12, 13 seconds left, they're fouled. Just because it's the playoffs, miracles can happen. Regular season, they'd be halfway to the plane by that point.
Yeah, but I would tell you, in a game that I didn't have a good feel for pregame and I got a good number in-game, I just want to, potentially win both, only win one, walk away, no harm, no foul.
Yep. All right, we got Josh Hart grasping at his left elbow. That's not a good sign for the Knicks here at home against the Pistons. The Garden probably getting a little nervous, but then again, game 1, 98-90, and we all know the way that ended. Now, they're not going to go to 21-0 run. I think we both bet a lot of money on that. But the point is, you can never say never. All right, you can hit us on X as well, by the way. VSiN Live, at Mad Dog Radio. Mike is hitting me. Tom, I know you're good with the spread. I love Dustin with all these props, though. What does he have for the games coming up next hour? So, Dustin, next hour props?
Yeah, let's look at, next hour, what games are coming up next hour. We don't have an NBA game till 10 on the East Coast.
Yeah, right.
MLB, the only game yet to play is Brewers-Giants. I don't have a prop. Yeah. I just like the Giants minus 135. Milwaukee just doesn't have a lineup that hits lefties very well. Robbie Ray's coming back off injury. He's looked really solid to start the season. I like backing the Giants. I think the Giants have some staying power in the NL West. Rays 3-0, 4.19 ERA, coming off his worst start of the year against Philly. Yeah. Philly's a team that kills lefties, though, so you can't really compare the two lineups. Also, Milwaukee, most strikeouts this year against southpaws. They're 19th in OPS against lefties. And I like the San Francisco lineup. The Korean kid, the center fielder for them, he's off to a great start. They have a little bit more depth with Willie Adames there, and they're facing a weaker starting pitcher in Quinn Priester. I would go minus 135 on the Giants.
I appreciate that, Mike. I don't have any plays left either. My baseball plays are done. Looks like I'm going to go 3-1. I like that on the day. And Byrne the Bookie segments are being shelved, obviously, for now. You can always check out my plays over on betstamp.com. Dustin, they can get yours, VSiN.com, correct? Subscribers?
VSiN.com/picks. Become a pro. Use the promo code SIRIUS. Get it for $19 through August 1st.
By the way, my invite to that NBA handicapping contest for VSiN must have got lost in the mail. Send me that when you get a check. All right, straight ahead, Trevor Sikkema.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Live betting reaction to all the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, we are just days away from the NFL draft. Cannot wait. We'll have you covered on Mad Dog Sports Radio 82 like no other. Here on VSiN Live, we welcome in Trevor Sikkema, he, of course, from Pro Football Focus. He's their lead NFL analyst. Really appreciate your time, Trevor. We'll start with Shedeur Sanders. You know, first he was falling down the draft board. Then he was coming back up a little bit. Maybe he's in play top 5. Now he's falling back down. Might not even go first round. What are you hearing? What's your intel on Shedeur?
Yeah, it's all over the place, right? I mean, I feel decently confident that he's not going to go number 3, and I feel similarly confident that he's not going to go number 9. I kind of go back to when I was in Indianapolis for the Combine. I just really couldn't. I'm not going to pretend that I talked to all 32 GMs while I was there or anything, but I couldn't really find anybody who spoke with conviction about Shedeur going in the first round. And it feels like all of the hype around him going the first round comes much more from the pool of, oh, these teams are so desperate. They're so desperate. They've got to draft one, rather than saying like, yeah, I think that Shedeur is a first round or top 10 overall quarterback. It just leads me to believe this quarterback class might be similar to that of 2021 or 2022, excuse me, when Kenny Pickett goes in the first round and we don't get another quarterback until the 3rd round. And there was all this talk beforehand of, oh, well, Malik Willis is going to go in the top 10. Desmond Ridder is now QB1. What about Sam Howell? Like, there was just all this talk about trying to prop up all these other quarterbacks. And at the end of the day, the NFL went, no, we're not doing that. As much as we need quarterbacks, we're not going to be that desperate for one. I'm not sure it's going to be as spread out as 2022 was, but I feel much more comfortable saying that Shedeur, if he's going to go anywhere, it's 21 to the Steelers than I do him going number 9 or number 3 or one of those spots in the top 10.
What about your evaluation of the player? What do you see in Shedeur? What works in the NFL? What do you have concerns about? And what do you think teams are seeing in Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback?
Yeah, so I've always had around a 2nd round, 3rd round grade on him. Right now I have a late 2nd, early 3rd, and that's sort of my final eval of where I landed with Shedeur Sanders. The things that he does well is, even if you take away the last name, even if you take away his dad's name, you could tell that this guy's grown up around the game. He understands the quarterback position. He understands a lot of what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. He understands, being the face of a franchise. He understands reading defenses pre and post snap. His throwing mechanics are excellent. He probably has the best throwing mechanics of anybody in the class. And so just the way that he goes about his business and how technically sound he is through his craft, you could just tell that he's been around the game of football in a very high level for a long time. The things that worry me about him is he's not really built like an NFL quarterback. He does not have added mobility to him despite being Deion Sanders' kid. And I think his arm talent is just okay. I think that it's adequate for the pros. I think that he could be a solid mid-tier starting NFL quarterback. But again, I'm not drafting that type of a player in the first round. I think that you can find those types of players a lot. And the only thing that really leads me to him being in the first round is sort of that quarterback desperation feel from a lot of these other teams. So that's my current evaluation on him. My pro comp that I gave him in the PFF draft guide is Teddy Bridgewater. Ice in his veins type of a player, does not really have the physical tools to be a long-term NFL starter, but I will say I liked Bridgewater a lot. He goes to the back end of the first round in his class. I think if he didn't suffer that really bad knee injury when he was in Minnesota, he could have been a mid-tier, potentially, for maybe spurts throughout his career, for a moment, a tier 2 NFL quarterback, but competing with those aliens in tier 1 and most of the ones in tier 2, I just didn't see that arm talent overall from Bridgewater, and I don't see it from Shedeur Sanders.
What about Travis Hunter, his teammate? When you evaluate him as a player, obviously the story with him is wide receiver, cornerback, and everyone thinks he's special at both. Do you view him more as one, and how would he rate for you as wide receiver and cornerback in this draft class?
Yeah, so he's CB1 for me, and he's wide receiver 2. And to be honest with you, I'd love to play him full-time at corner because I think he's more unique there. He has more unique body type. I love the footwork. I love the length. I love the overall athleticism. And I've said this before, he's got the best ball skills of any corner that I've ever watched. And he probably will have the best ball skills of any corner I will ever watch from now until I stop doing this. I mean, it's hard to believe that any defensive back would have ball skills better than what Travis Hunter is bringing to the NFL. So that uniqueness at corner makes me want to play him at that cornerback spot, especially because I can throw him on offense for about 10 to 15 plays a game as a wide receiver. I don't really know if you can do the opposite. And it looks like the Cleveland Browns are going to try to do that because if they draft him at number 2, I think that they like him the most as a wide receiver. That's been pretty consistent with their message, saying, well, we like him at both, but we like him as a wide receiver. They said that at the combine, it feels like that's where they would be leaning is the biggest impact now that we're sort of hearing that he is the now runaway favorite to go number 2 overall. So I think that they're going to try to get the most out of him both positions. But, here's the thing with Hunter. For as great as he is, and as much as I would give him a full plate at both positions, there's only so long he can do that, right? 4, 5 years max. I mean, he can't be playing as much as I love the talent, and I would absolutely let him play both positions until he proves to you he can't. It's hard to think that anything after that rookie contract, he would be more than just maybe a spot player at those other spots. Once you start to get into that second contract, I think you're really starting to specialize on one of those positions. And it feels as though the NFL likes him the most at a wide receiver, even though I think the uniqueness is there for corner.
Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus lead NFL analyst with Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. You're on a VSiN Live Monday. All right, Trevor, I'm looking at a lot of mock drafts. I'd say 3 of every 4 have Carolina taking a linebacker with their first pick. Yet I'm looking and seeing plus 160, plus 165 across the board. Is that a pretty good play there? Are they definitely looking at the linebacker from what you're hearing?
I think so. It kind of depends on how Jalen Walker is labeled from the NFL, right? Because he plays off-ball linebacker. He also plays on the edge, right? So it sort of depends on how they categorize him when they announce where he is getting drafted. I think that it's going to be at the linebacker spot, although I can't remember off the top of my head what he was categorized when he was at the combine.
That's what I'm seeing, linebacker. Yeah,
okay, so he is and honestly, like I live in Charlotte. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know some people who are just cover the team very closely, and it feels as though Jalen Walker has been a constant. There've been a couple of other names. Thinking about Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, maybe a Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, but it feels as though no matter what conversation, they'll throw a couple of names out at me that they think Carolina could be thinking about. And Jalen Walker's always within that group. And so if you just want to say common denominator, it feels as though he's got the highest chance to go number 8 overall. Now, how much does it help their defense? I think that they're hoping it's a long-term play, right? They're hoping that he's a multi-contract guy. They love his football IQ. They're going to want him as a field general out there, reminiscent of what it was when Luke Kuechly was out there and how they knew no matter what the rest of the defense was doing, they had a rock in the middle. If you're drafting Jalen Walker at number 8, that's the idea. That's what you would want out of him. And so they would have to think pretty highly of him to draft him there at number 8, but it feels like they do.
Question about Ashton Jeanty, because I'm using the betting markets to look at where he's going to go. I think there's a lot of teams that obviously want his services. I want to get your thoughts on him as a player, but first off, the Raiders are the favorite team to draft him when you look at Jeanty's drafted buy odds at minus 125. However, he's also the favorite to go number 5 overall, and the Jaguars currently have that pick. And there is some steam, some rumors coming that Jacksonville could be interested. Who do you think's the best fit for Jeanty, and what do you think of him as a running back this year?
I think the best fit is Chicago at number 10, but I just don't think that he is lasting to number 10. I really don't. I think that he's going to go before then, because the way that I look at it, there's 3 blue chip players in this draft: Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Jeanty. And for as much as we have talked about how the gap between, say, prospect 5 and prospect 20 really isn't that big, and then the gap between prospect 21 and maybe prospect 50 or 60 isn't that big, teams are going to want the blue chip players. Teams are going to want the guys that they feel the best about. And so I think that Jeanty's range starts at number 4 for the New England Patriots. I've heard, just from listening to people who cover the team and know the team closely, that they really like Ashton Jeanty. Are they going to draft him at number 4 overall? Probably not. I think the realistic scenarios start at number 5, potentially with Jacksonville, or maybe with them trading back at number 5 for a team that wants to jump the Raiders. And John Spytek, the new general manager for the Raiders, I think him and Pete Carroll are having a blast. Like they're up there at press conferences saying like, "Oh yeah, we love a running back, of course," And they're not trying to. Pete Carroll the other day during the pre-draft press conference, somebody brings up Ashton Jeanty, and Pete Carroll, who knows very well that he has a microphone in front of him, starts to whisper, and he's just like, "Well, be careful, don't." As if he's gonna let the cat out of the bag of who Ashton Jeanty is by how he talks about him. So they're having a ball with it. I am too. I think it's a lot of fun. Ultimately, I do think the favorite is still the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6. Although Jacksonville is making it a little bit interesting here down the stretch. I think certainly like Tyler Warren, Tetro McMillan could also be in play for them at number 5. And then certainly he won't get past Chicago at number 10 if he ends up making it there.
Again, it's Trevor Sikkema, of course, from Pro Football Focus. He's the lead NFL analyst. I'm Tom Byrne, Dustin Swedelson alongside, of course, as well here on a VSiN Live. All right, Trevor, how many quarterbacks first round?
I think it's only 2. I think Cam Ward goes 1. I think Shedeur goes somewhere. I'm not convinced that we get 3. I'm really not. Again, I just go back to the 2022 NFL draft scenario where we were just told, oh, yeah, I mean, look at all these quarterback desperate, needy teams. I mean, they've got to pick them here. And I suppose that this draft class is a little different because it's not as star-studded at the other positions as 2022 was, and that goes into the narrative. But, I've got a ticket from a while ago where I took, under 2.5 quarterbacks, and I feel pretty good about it a couple of days to the round 1 of the NFL draft. And so I know that Jalen Milroe's there in Green Bay. Jackson Dart said that he was going to go for the draft, but now he is no longer there. I have to believe that's not just because he changed his mind and he wants a pizza party at his house with his friends now. I think it's because he probably thinks that he's not going to be a first-round pick. Jalen Milroe could be. I do think that he is the ultimate wild card there, but I will say that we get 2 in the first round, and it's under that 2.5 mark.
Well, and the number 1 going there will be going number 1 overall. It's Cam Ward. I'm curious when you see the Titans and how he's going to fit into the Brian Callahan system. What kind of quarterback are they going to get in Cam Ward? What do you see in his game that translates to the next level?
Yeah, they're going to get somebody who's not afraid of the big passes, right? And it's the reason why, even though I don't have Cam Ward number 1 on my board, I understand drafting him number 1 overall in this scenario because at least he presents to you a potential Pro Bowl or All-Pro ceiling. Now, the floor is a little bit lower than you want. Some of the turnover-worthy plays that he's had throughout his career, but even in this past year, which was his best, you get a little bit worried about. But in Brian Callahan's system, he's going to be mainly a shotgun quarterback, which is something that he likes to do anyways. He likes to be able to stand back and scan the field and have a little bit of space there, a little bit of extra room to allow yourself to hold on to the ball a little bit more, make sure that you're looking for those biggest throws deep down the field and be a little bit of that big game hunter. So that's something that he's got a never say die mentality. He's got some unorthodox footwork and some unorthodox throwing motions at times, but it can work. And, Joe Schoen, the general manager of the New York Giants, said at the combine, and I think it was funny, people were asking him about Cam Ward, and he's like, hey, Cam does a lot of things great. And he mentions that Virginia Tech game that they played. And he's like, he was great in the fourth quarter of that Virginia Tech game. And then Joe Schoen went, it was kind of his fault they were in a hole anyways that he had to dig them out of. So he's kind of got the shovel in both ways, right? He's digging the hole and then he's digging them out. But he at least gives you that ceiling, like I said, of somebody who could be a Pro Bowl quarterback. So I do understand why they want to take him at number 1.
Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. Of these other quarterbacks who aren't discussed as much, which one has the most potential? Which one, from what you're hearing, has the most potential to general managers?
Yeah, so if you're asking me, I'd say it's Jalen Milroe, right? Give me the guy who I'm not going to be worried about talent-wise at all whatsoever. Phenomenal with his legs, twitched up, rocket of an arm. He's just inaccurate right now. And I worry about the hand size. I really do. I know that we all like to, freak out and roll our eyes about the hand size of quarterbacks, but for Jalen Milroe, it actually matters because he was inaccurate when it came to true ball placement and true control over the football. And he has a very fast throwing motion. Everything about that dude is twitched up. And when you have a faster throwing motion, the smaller your hands are, the less control you naturally have over the football. So I'm not so convinced that it's just a foregone conclusion. Not only the accuracy gets better, but the overall ball control, because the NFL ball, I think that this is underreported, is a little bit bigger than the college football. And so if the ball's getting a little bit bigger, if you already had a little bit of ball control issues in college, do you have to slow down your throwing motion? At that point, do you have to bring more touch into the equation? And there's no guarantee that that gets better. But all that to say, I would be betting on Jalen Milroe because I think he's got the talent ceiling. Now, I think the NFL, you can throw Tyler Shuck into the mix as well, the quarterback from Louisville. And I've had some people today who have been like, explain this Tyler Shuck situation to me. And the way that I would explain it to you is the NFL looks at this quarterback class, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that they don't know if they have the arm for the league. They don't know if they have the overall arm talent for the league. I talked about it with a guy like Shedeur Sanders. You could say that with a guy like Riley Leonard, with Dylan Gabriel, right? Like there's plenty of players who you sort of worry about their overall arm strength. NFL teams don't have to worry about that with Tyler Shuck. He has an NFL arm. There's no question about that. He might have one of the best arm in the class. So with that, I think that NFL teams look at him and go, just give me that player. I know that he's older. I know that he's got the injury history, but in this, you can play a quarterback until you're 40. We see that now. So who cares? He's 26. You could still realistically get 2 contracts out of this guy if you think that he could be a starting caliber player for you. So I'm not really worried about the age for him, but I'm worried about a lot more inconsistencies. There were way too many times when he was afraid to step up in the pocket, got rid of the ball way too early, didn't want to hang in with pressure, and maybe the injuries go into that. But in terms of what the NFL thinks to general managers, it feels as though they go, all right, in a quarterback class where I got to try to convince myself, hey, does this guy have the arm talent to play in this league? You don't at least have to ask that question with Tyler Shuck, and so that's probably why they're leaning in on him.
Trevor, you mentioned the blue chip prospects. One of the names was Abdul Carter. As a Giants fan, I have to ask you about him because I think it's a weird situation they're in where they started out hyping up Cam Ward to the Giants. Obviously not going to happen. Then the hype was Travis Hunter to the Giants. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. And they're now going to settle for a guy that everyone says is a can't-miss player at number 3. It does feel odd to say, like, settle for a guy at a position that's a premium like an edge. What would the Giants be getting at Abdul Carter at number 3?
They'd be getting a player who gives you shades of Micah Parsons. And sometimes I hate that comparison because he played for the same school. He wore the same jersey. He had the same jersey number. And he played the same position. He's got the same background. But a lot of the talent is still there, right? And I think that the shoe actually does fit for the Micah Parsons comparisons for Abdul Carter. And I don't think that you can let Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau get in the way of you picking a player like this, especially with the rest of this class the way that it is. So I wouldn't be trading back. And in fact, if I'm the Giants at 3 and Travis Hunter and Cam Ward are gone, I'm taking Abdul Carter, I'm pairing him with Brian Burns, and I'm probably trading Kayvon Thibodeau. That's probably what I'm doing. I'm going to try to get some sort of a day 2 pick, the earlier the better for him, and I'm going to try to go get an interior defensive lineman to be able to play next to Dexter Lawrence, because if you're able to do that, this draft is deep with interior defensive linemen you can feel pretty good about, then you've got a really good starting 4, and especially, with Paulson and Debo coming in and fixing that secondary the way that they have, it really would just come down to, hey, the quarterback, whoever is going to start for them, just has to play better. Malik's obviously somebody that you can lean on heavily, and you'll just hit offense heavier next offseason and really hoping that you can slingshot things the year after that.
Trevor Sikkema, excellent job. We'll be reading a lot up until Thursday. PFF.com and through the draft, for that matter. He's their lead NFL analyst. He did a great job. Thanks for joining us, Trevor.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
All right, straight ahead, Dustin. We are not looking good on the Knicks bets, by the way. 68-55. Detroit is whooping them here in the third quarter. But I've got some answers for you. I know everybody's asking, why is Kirk Cousins still in the Falcons? Now we might know the why. That's next. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. It's VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
It's fantasy baseball season on Fantasy Sports Radio. We're helping to set a winning lineup, guiding your team through early season injuries and underperforming stars. We'll let you know which hitters you need to have in your lineup and who the top pitchers are with the best matchups. Win your league with Fantasy Sports Radio. That's channel 87 in your car and on the SiriusXM app. All right, a very mini run here for the Knicks, but they could take anything they can get. It's actually down to 9 now after a Miles McBride triple.
Did you see the three? You were doing the read, Tom. I want to make sure you saw what happened.
No, I didn't see
McBride,
it. I just saw the
shot clock going down, spinorama, chucks it at the basket, banks it in for three. It was a miracle three-point shot by McBride, but cuts it to 9. So maybe we have a little juice, as Doggy would say. Maybe it's a little interesting here. I'm catching the 3.5. I don't know if you're going to get there laying the points, but
no.
I have an outside chance here as the fourth quarter is going to begin. We're the final 35 seconds here. Knicks with the ball trying to cut this lead. This could be a big bucket here, and Brunson gets it. Okay, got a little juice.
You're on the number. Right now, you could play the Knicks in game plus 3.5. So you're on the number. Pistons on the money line minus 225. And forgetting about where our money is, man, this could be spicy if Detroit gets out of the Garden with the win, though. That would make Game 3 much more anticipated. Because let's be honest, if the Knicks are up 2-0 going to Detroit, we're kind of just waiting for this conclusion, right? If it's 1-1 going to Detroit and be rocking them, and they haven't had a chance to really go nuts in that building in about a decade and a half, probably more than that, 17 years, really. And so that would add a little intrigue, to say the least.
Well, if Detroit were to lose this game, meaning blowing another double-digit lead at Madison Square, it's over. There's no coming back from that one. It's not possible. We got to give Cade Cunningham his flowers. He's the best player in this series. I know the thought was it was Jalen Brunson. Cade Cunningham is dominating this game. 28 points, 9 boards, 1 assist. Every time I look up, he's going to the rack and he's hitting a shot. 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He has been an absolute force in this contest.
He's got to take him home, though. He's got to take him home here in the fourth quarter. All right, let me get to this news out of the National Football League. Kirk Cousins is going to be playing for who? We don't really know yet, right? We know Atlanta wants to give the ball to Michael Penix Jr. Well, no surprise, we're finding out that the reason that he has not been traded, he's reportedly asking too much. So the Falcons haven't trade talks centered around Cousins, but reportedly he's asking for too much. You know, we'll see, or they're asking for too much.
Yeah.
Both sides reportedly recognize their future is not together. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. It was a 4-year, $180 million deal, if memory serves, last year. Then they went out and shocked everybody, took the rookie. I didn't think they did Cousins any favors with how they utilized him. But, boy, he seemed close to wash last year. At a reasonable price tag, I'd have some interest. If you're the Browns, who have long been viewed as the favorite to land him for obvious reasons, I wouldn't mind seeing what Cousins and Stefanski could do together.
But are they in the market for him? They traded for Kenny Pickett. They signed Joe Flacco. I don't know if they're bringing in another quarterback where Pickett's talking about how he was brought in to be the starter. He's under the impression he's going to get a chance to start. I don't know if you bring a third quarterback into the situation. I'm wondering the Steelers. Would the Steelers rather have Kirk Cousins off the Achilles 2 years ago or Rodgers off the Achilles 2 years ago? That would be the number one destination. And then maybe after that, I think the Minnesota Vikings, if J.J. McCarthy really isn't ready, get him back there under the tutelage of Kevin O'Connell. Those would be the two spots that jump out to me. But if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you almost have to cut him. Because I know they paid him the money for being on the roster, but you can't let that hang over the future of this crossover into the Michael Penix era. You can't let Kirk Cousins be an option if Penix struggles in the first couple games of the season and people wanting Cousins to take over again. I think if you're going to go in a new direction at quarterback, you have to go all the way in. And part of that is letting Cousins go. So if you don't get a good trade offer, you're going to have to release him if you're the Falcons.
Well, they're going to wait to see how the draft plays out, because that obviously will affect the Cousins market pretty dramatically, I would assume. Right now, from what I've been able to discern, Atlanta's asking teams to pay about $20 million to $45 million he hasn't guaranteed. Not a shocker. Nobody's been willing to do that. Seeing ESPN has reported there's a feeling around the NFL, a team like the Vikings or the Steelers may be willing to pay down to $10 million instead of $20 million.
Okay. I ask you then, Tom, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers right now or Kirk Cousins right now?
Ooh, man. I'd rather root for Kirk Cousins than Aaron Rodgers. I can tell that from a fan standpoint. When it just
if you're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I guess I'd go Rodgers. I don't think the separation's as dramatic, though, as you think.
I agree. I agree. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think you can still coach up Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins, because he's a little bit younger, has a few more years left potentially in him. And I think when you look at what happened to Cousins last year, he had an arm injury, and it was very clear. I believe it was the Denver game where he just looked different. Something must have happened in practice or the week prior, but he couldn't throw anymore. And a lot of people thought it was related to his foot. The Falcons kept the injury under wraps, but eventually it came out he was dealing with an arm injury, and that's why he looked the way he did. That's why they benched him for Michael Penix. So it's not the Achilles. He's not a mobile guy anyway, but it's not the Achilles bothering him. It's his arm. I think that's a deal where he could be rested, and I trust that Kirk Cousins has a little bit left in the tank where I don't know what Rodgers is. I think Rodgers' numbers are so overinflated. He's a guy that was on a losing team last year, throwing from behind in the fourth quarter and second half of games. That's why the numbers look good. It's what Dak Prescott does. It's why he confuses people, and people think Dak Prescott is a good quarterback that can win a Super Bowl potentially one day, or the Cowboys think they can win a Super Bowl one day. But people think Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. No, he has good numbers because his team's always losing. So he's throwing from behind. That's what Rodgers did last year. I would rather have Cousins next year than Rodgers.
Jets have scored. They go up 2-1 of the Blues, looking to take a stranglehold in that series. I laid, I think, $1.90 in that series. That is Connor Hellebuck versus Jordan Binnington. Caps, I'm seeing, just gave up a goal. All right, Canadiens making it interesting, 2-1. And, of course, we've been on top of the game at the Garden tonight, 75-67. The Knicks down to the Pistons going into the fourth quarter, which makes that spicy. And our squad's going at it on the diamond. Looks like your Mets are going to win 5-0 there at Citi Field. The Bats of the Phillies, we thought maybe they had awoken, but maybe not. They are so Jekyll and Hyde. They're going to hit consistently at some point. There's too much talent in that lineup, but boy, do they have stretches where they just don't hit.
Yeah, look, this is a litmus test, this series for the Mets, and maybe it's just being a classic, stereotypical pessimistic Mets fan. But you look at what they've done to start the year. I know they just swept 4 from St. Louis. They've won 6 of 8, but 11 of their 15 wins coming into tonight were against Miami, Toronto, the A's, Minnesota, and then the 4 against St. Louis. I need them to beat a good team. I need them to show something against a good team. Yeah. I believe your Phillies in the end are one of the more balanced teams. The only real question you have is the setup in the bullpen, but that can be fixed at somewhere down the road. It's a legit lineup. It's not good. It's a great starting rotation. Yes. The question is, how does that division play out? Because I want to pull up the market prices in the National League East right now, where at the moment, Phillies plus 130, the Mets plus 135. But, man, the Braves at plus 330. I know Strider just went back on the IL.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That's a big number, Tom, on a team that if they get Acuna back and they put it together, they could play outside of their mind when it heats up in the summer, and we could be regretting not placing that bet.
There's some bad juju, as the kids like to say nowadays, around that club, though. Did you see what Acuna Jr. put on social media? If that were me, I would have been benched. And Strider now is going to land on the IL because of a hamstring. Just one, I think it was one start, right? He was great into his return from that UCL surgery. So that is bad news for the Braves, man. I'm starting to become a little bit more concerned, to say the least. I hear you on the plus 330 to the Braves. I mean, you and I grew up in the bigger market, but the Braves always dominated the division.
Yeah.
So we have nothing but respect for them. So you want to give them the benefit of the doubt? I don't know. It couldn't have been any worse the start of this season. Now, it's still early, 162 games. It is a marathon. But it might be getting late early around here, if you know what I mean.
No, and they're not a team that makes like big splashy moves in season. They'll add a key piece here and there, a Jorge Soler, guys like that to help solidify things. But they don't make big moves. They don't make splashy moves like let's say a Sandy Alcantara who's out there potentially from Miami. They won't do something like that. And the problem is for them, it's not just the injuries. The injuries are starting to compound because you're also relying on guys who in the past have been injured. You're relying on a lot of guys who were injured a year ago because this was the same thing that did them in 2024 is the whole lineup was hurt, the pitching staff was hurt, and guys like Lopez and Sale were thought to solidify things to start the season, but Lopez got hurt, and Chris Sale's a guy who just threw the most innings he had ever thrown since like 2017, 2018 last season on his way to a Cy Young Award. So you're relying on guys who have a history of getting hurt.
Yep. Oh, 100%. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. This is the Monday VSiN Live. Always good to have you guys. We can open up the lines if you want to jump in. 888-623-3646. You can also hit us on social. I'm seeing somebody in my DMs talking about St. John's and the transfer portal. It's amazing, man. This transfer portal does it. I don't know if you get too involved in this, and I just opened CBSSports.com to check on it. It's one of their top stories. I guess they got this kid let's see, from North Carolina. Oh, Ian Jackson. I know him. Okay, so I didn't even know he was transferring, but it makes sense. Nothing surprised me. Ian Jackson of North Carolina is going to St. John's. St. John's, and no surprise, Pitino's been trying to get the guys with the money around that program involved, and they have done that. So they got an Arizona State transfer, they got a Providence transfer, a Stanford transfer, and now there's transfer from North Carolina. They might have one of the best teams in the country next year, but we shall see.
Well, I had 50-1 on St. John's this past year to win the title. Until they start hitting free throws, I'm not going to believe in them going forward. I need some three-point shooting, and I need some free throws from the Johnnies there. The transfer portal's crazy. I don't know if you saw this as well, but while we've been on the air, UCLA got another quarterback, and Tennessee got the UCLA quarterback. Did you see this story?
Oh, no, I did not. I know Nico's little brother joined him at UCLA. So Tennessee ended up getting the kid. What's his name? Ortega. Is it Ortega?
No,
the kid that was
Aguilar.
UCLA? Aguilar,
yeah.
Thank you. I did not see that. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, Joey Aguilar. I believe it was Aguilar.
Yeah, from
He's
UCLA
the former
Tennessee.
But he was at App State the last couple seasons, and he was pretty good.
He
was pretty good.
Right, and he just went to UCLA, then, got the sense he wasn't going to be the starter. That's right. Okay, I do know the backstory now.
Yeah,
okay.
Joey Aguilar. It just happened during the show. So we essentially, because of NIL and the transfer portal, have our first ever college football trade where Nico Iamaleava goes to UCLA, and in exchange, Joey Aguilar goes to Tennessee. You got to love college sports right now. It's absolutely insane. I don't know about you. Back in the day, I used to love getting my preview magazines in the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Slowly reading them.
Phil Steele, Athlon, all of them.
Okay, but now it's homework.
Smiths.
Now I have to sit here and I have to write out, okay, this player's now on this team, this player's now on this team, and you're like, I know him. How does he fit there? He's going to a new conference. How does it translate? The lack of continuity. What's funny is the lack of continuity with the one and done is what killed college basketball. And then college football said, and I mean college basketball to a degree as well with the transfer portal, but college football just joined in on the party and said, you know what? We don't care. We don't care. We'll allow kids to transfer everywhere. It's the wild freaking West. And I don't think any of us are saying that kids shouldn't get paid. I think we're all for that. We understand. But it hasn't hurt any of these athletic departments that they started paying kids. We just need some rules and regulations because it seems a little absurd with the way players are able to just bounce around freely.
You shouldn't be able to transfer every year. I don't have any respect for the kid who's on his fifth team in 4 years. That's not what the transfer portal is intended for. That's ridiculous. Now, they should be able to leave anytime they want. If these coaches who are always chasing the extra dollars somewhere else can go, the kid's got to be able to go too. But it's being way too taken advantage of at this point. It's just it's absurd. To your point, it's the Wild Wild West. It makes it impossible to handicap. That's also what you were getting at. Impossible to handicap early season games. They're guessing games for the most part.
Yeah, and I think early in your career, you shouldn't be able to transfer up. What do I mean by that? A non-Power 4 player, not in one of the big leagues, shouldn't be able to treat his first school as a minor league system his first year. Maybe after 2 years you can do that. I think that's totally fine. But we can't treat the smaller schools like the minor leagues for the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12. I don't like that. I also don't like the lateral moves.
2 year deals. That's what we need. 2 year contract here, 2 year contract there. Boom.
I also don't like the lateral moves.
Unless your coach leaves.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, exactly. That's a different story. Coach leaves, it's completely open. But I also don't like the lateral moves. You shouldn't be able to go lateral within a conference. You shouldn't be able to go lateral ACC to SEC type thing. You should have to go down or up. That should be the only way it should go. And then if you're a fifth-year kid looking for an opportunity to start or playing time or you've graduated already, sure, you can do whatever you want. 2-year deals, you can't transfer up after 2 years. You can't just transfer laterally to another school. We just need some rules.
It was 98-90 at about this point of the game, game one. It's 84-75, 8 minutes left, fourth quarter. Do the Knicks have a 21-0 run in them? Missed 3 by Anunoby suggests the answer might be no, although there's the hustle guy, Josh Hart, making a play to keep it New York basketball. We got eyes on it and more. We'll close tabs when we come back. He's Dustin Swedelson. I'm Tom Byrne. It's VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Tom Byrne and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, always good to have you. Starting the handicap tomorrow's baseball card. We could take an early look here, Dustin, at some of the lines tomorrow. Let's not start with the baseball, though, because that kind of goes on the back burner.
Yeah.
I already have handicapped all the basketball. I'm wondering if anything sticks out to you here. Tomorrow in the association, Indiana home to Milwaukee will be our leadoff, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Right now, I'm seeing an exchange that offers Indiana plus $1.06, laying to 4.5. Milwaukee want to come back plus 4.5, $1.10. Memphis is next, 14.5. The 15s have been taken. 14, 14.5, depending on where you shop. And it looks like, generally speaking, you're going to have to settle for a 5.5. You know, the VIGs depend. I'm seeing as low as $1.04. Minnesota side, LA, I'm seeing the lowest $1.08. Anything stick out to you there?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get home with Giannis against Indiana in game one. When it came to his PRA, but the points were there. I think that's the key. Focus on the points for Giannis, over 34.5 points. He's really good when Siakam's on him. They really don't have an answer for him defensively. No Dame in the lineup. It's a legacy spot.
He's clutchable. He's been upgraded. You know what upgrade means in the NBA? In the playoffs?
I know, but he's coming off of the blood clots, thoracic, whatever we're categorizing as. I don't know what he looks like. I think it's Giannis. Giannis has to take over. They need him to even the series up if they have any chance in this one. I could get a lot of Giannis. That's why I like over 34.5. Lillard's point total, to my point, is set at 19.5 at minus 135. So they don't expect him to be playing at 100% either. That's one that jumps out to me. I do like Indiana on the game, however. I'd lay the 4 with the Pacers. I'm not sure the Bucks, this version of them, has enough to hang with a really underrated Pacers squad, as Brunson hits a 3 in the corner to cut it to 10 with 6:40 to go in this Knicks Pistons game. As far as Grizzlies and Thunder, I like Jalen Williams. Memphis struggles with small forwards. He ate in game one. He only played 26 minutes. I missed on his PRA by a hook. I imagine Memphis will be a little bit better, a bit of a closer game, so he'll actually play more of the fourth quarter. So because of that, I'll go back to Jalen Williams and his PRA in that one. And then the late game tomorrow night, it's the Lakers. I'll lay 3.5 in the first half. I may lay 5.5 in the full game. They completely bounce back. I think they decimate Minnesota. They send this series back to Minnesota 1-1.
Yeah, it would be Lakers or nothing for me. I know the zigzag theory in play there. I don't know if I could get there. I was disheartened, to say the least, by that performance, man. Minnesota beat them up pretty good. Look, Bucks, Pacers, that series does nothing for me. But even from a betting standpoint, it doesn't do much for me. I can't believe I got to go here. But if I had to take a play, it would be the points with Memphis, even though the 15's gone. I think Oklahoma City is running through the West. But 15 at home, I think Memphis shows some pride. I don't think they'll win the game. I do not think they'll win the game, but I think they could actually stay within 15, and then they'll go to Oklahoma City, lose 2, and be in Cancun.
If you can't cover 15, just wave the white flag. Tell us it's over. Let Oklahoma City rest. Don't even play the rest of the series. Don't even do it at this point if you can't cover 15 in the postseason.
Quickly here on the baseball, I don't know if you even had a chance to handicap anything yet, but do you have any plays for tomorrow?
I have not looked at the card yet tomorrow. No day baseball, so that's a little disappointing. I would look at Pivetta on the road at Detroit, minus 108 at the Tigers and Flaherty. Pavetta's been really good for San Diego so far to start his career out there. I think he's a great fit. I think he's a really, really solid pitcher. And I like that Padres lineup a lot more than the Tigers lineup. So that's one angle I would look at. Further down the board, man, Chris Sanchez and Griffin Canning is an interesting matchup, Phillies and Mets. I actually would like Sanchez and the Phillies at minus 125 in that one. That jumps out to me. And Dodgers, no, I can't do it. I was going to say Dodgers team total against Imanaga. You can't do that. Imanaga's been too good, especially at home. Wouldn't mess with that. Chris Bassett's on the bump at Houston. He started off like an ace. You have to wonder when that falls back. He's been a streaky pitcher in his past, taking on Ronel Blanco. Bassett props may be something I'm involved with. And then Jose Soriano. I don't see pitching props up yet at this book, but Soriano and the Angels taking on Bailey Falter and the Pirates. They're heavy favorites, and rightfully so. The Angels really good against lefties. They're minus 185. I think Soriano could go over his K prop if it's set at like 7.5, 6.5, somewhere in that range. I think 8 strikeouts should be expected. He has a live arm. He's off to a hot start. And I obviously don't like the Pirates offense. So those are the ones that jumped out to me so far.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm looking at some of the numbers with my model here. Nerd alert! We need that Austin Powers drop. Negative binomial distribution, weighted runs credit plus, skill interactive ERA, lots goes into it. I made Soriano and the Angels a 217 favorite, so I agree. I'm a little surprised by this because my intuition was the same as yours, Sanchez against Cannon, but I'm only seeing Philly laying $1 by my numbers. I'm a little surprised by that. All right, well, I got to go ahead and handicap it.
Should note something's going on with the Phillies Mets game. It's now 5-4, top of the ninth, 1 out. I think Bryson Stott might have.
On.
Let's see what occurred here. All of a sudden, Edwin Diaz allowed a run. Kranick allowed 3 runs. It looks like in the 8th and the 7th. So we have a situation brewing here where the Phillies have the tying run at the plate with 1 out in the 9th.
Turner just struck out though. Diaz just got him, so that's going to be the 2nd out. So the Mets are 1 out away here. It's 5-4. All right, Detroit up 90-80 on the Knicks as it's time for us, I believe, to close some tabs. Is it not, old Dusty?
Let's do it.
It's time to wrap up today's show. You see what I did there? Yeah. By finishing all of the conversations we touched on today. This is Closing Tabs.
All right, a few things I run by you in this segment, Tom. Some news in the weird, things that occurred during the show, and things you'll find out about me that you actually never wanted to know. Brooklyn J called in. Said that basketball players playing sports and athletes in general, beats per minute. Got to keep it between 80 and 90 on the old heart rate. Should point out,
that, yes.
I take a pill to regulate mine, Tom. I have to keep mine low because if not, it goes out of control. I take a special pill. It's called a beta blocker. So I'm all alpha, no beta. All the beta has been blocked out of my body. I take a beta blocker. And what it does is it lowers my heart rate. So little thing you learned about me.
I'm pretty sure mine goes well north of 80 to 90 when I'm in the gym now every day, man. Wife's got me going to the gym. I actually find myself liking it. I still play ball at least once a week. 80 to 90. I can't imagine I'm staying below that. I didn't think that was a big deal. I thought it was good to get your heartbeat rate up.
No, but also, I don't think it's possible to stay 80 to 90 when you're running and playing sports. Mine's like 140.
Oh, you mean when you're sitting? Oh, when you're sitting in that donut, it's 140.
Yeah. When I'm sitting, it's around the 70, 80 range.
Well, you lost some weight.
Yeah, I did. Still big boy. Let's see.
But not terrible. Go ahead.
Some other stuff here. We were just talking about transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff. I think transfer portal and NIL is to college sports what OnlyFans is to porn. I'm all for people getting their cut, but we can't argue that it's watered down the product and the quality we're getting. It's only to be fair. You don't need to comment on that, Tom. I don't need to get you in trouble.
Yeah, man, this is when I'm like the 44-year-old going on 94. I wouldn't know how to even do any of that stuff. The OnlyFans and the TikTok and all that stuff. I sound like doggy here. I mean, dead serious. I do not have a TikTok. I know nothing about I know the general gist of it. Yeah. And how people are making that sort of money on that. Oh, my God.
I mean, it is pay for play.
Out there spending a lot of money on that sort of thing.
I was one of those people before I had a girlfriend. I was one of those people.
Oh, look at you. Congrats. Okay. Good for you. How long?
How long in the relationship? 6-7 months now.
Oh, it's been a while. Okay.
Yeah,
I have heard you mention that with Pat, but
yeah, I mean, I mentioned it a lot for being fair, but it's my new personality.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I learned from that, Tom, is that if you live in someone's DMs long enough on Instagram, they'll eventually just say yes and start dating you.
Hey, man, I wouldn't know how to date in today's environment on like those dating apps and everything. What happened to just going to the bar, drinking one too many and then talking to the person next to you?
Well, I mean, that usually ends with a shotgun marriage. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point. Fair enough.
How old were you when you met your wife?
I was probably about 30.
Okay. Yeah. So we're looking at almost 15 years now?
Well, we've been married less than that. Yeah, 12 years. Yeah, it took a while. I put in a ring on it a week in.
I got you. I just meant together. I meant together.
I got you. Yeah.
All right, give me some advice then, as someone in a new relationship. What is the secret to a relationship?
Man, I'm not that guy. I'm no sage when it comes to relationships. I know my limits. Ask me what I'm thinking about in the game tomorrow. I'll give you a good 20, 30 minutes. Asking me for, say, yes, honey, you got it a lot? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a guy who's not going to be saying that a lot, yes, honey, you got it, is Carson Beck. I don't know if you saw the story, the former Georgia quarterback down in Miami. He was dating one of the Cavender twins. You just mentioned you're not on TikTok. They are TikTok superstars.
I know who they are. Yeah, they played for the Canes for a while, right? Yeah.
Yes. Hannah Cavender broke up with him, ran into Kai Trump.
No.
Kai Trump, not a political statement, the granddaughter of President Donald Trump, on video, asked about Carson Beck, does he have any friends? Hannah said, no, nobody likes him. I didn't break up with him because he was cheating. I broke up with him because of who he is. So it turns out Carson Beck may be the real-life Bo Callahan. Bo Callahan's the quarterback from the movie Draft Day, where nobody went to his birthday party, so Sonny and the Browns didn't want to select him.
Yeah, I remember that movie. I didn't realize that about Carson, but nobody likes him. That's a pretty damning statement, man.
Yeah, I mean, also, you're talking to the person who broke up with him, so she's a little biased.
It's fair. I'm pretty sure he'll be all right. He's going to be all right making millions of dollars playing for Miami down there at Coral Gables. I can't feel too badly for Carson Beck.
Okay, today is April 21st, Tom. Want to wish a happy 45th birthday to Tony Romo. Now, we are on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Chris Russo, not a fan of Tony Romo. Which aisle do you come down on with Tony Romo? Are you pro or against?
I don't mind Romo. I don't love him. It's not like Romo's doing a game. But I would take him over Tom Brady. How about that? Did you think Brady was any good? First of all, he doesn't have a voice to be a broadcaster. Two, I thought he got a little better in the playoffs. I was the first to admit when I was doing point after, there were sometimes I actually found myself giving him credit. But, I mean, $300+ million, it's not my money. What the hell? Is anybody turning on the TV? Brady's doing a game. I got to make sure I listen.
I think we're all pretty hard in our judgments overall, where I think it's a little bit harder than the normal fan wants to give these guys credit for what the job is, to react in real time, to know what's happening in the play, to see things that the casual sports fan doesn't see. With that said, I think Tony Romo's great. I like people who have enthusiasm. I like people who are excited. I like people who can say things that I wouldn't say. I think the thing about football that always fascinates me, Tom, is that, like, it's the most popular game in America, but if you really ask the general sports fan who watches football, they really don't know that much about what they're seeing. At least with Tony Romo, I can get something when he speaks that I wouldn't know about the game. I can appreciate that, but I think it's a landscape of really okay guys calling games right now when it comes to analysts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm more into the play-by-play guy anyway, so that's more important to me. But I'm with you, man. Brady, I could do without him. Romo probably at this point, everybody was too high on him initially.
Yeah.
Now the pendulum has swung too far the other way. Now they're too down on him. I'm with you there. That's a fair point.
You mentioned during the start of the show, people talking about Anthony Edwards, comparing him to Michael Jordan. It's kind of like when people compared Mia Khalifa to Lisa Ann. Like, let's let people compile some achievements before we compare them to greatness. I think it's a little unfair. Jordan and Edwards, Khalifa and Lisa Ann, a little unfair.
Is she still with us?
On Earth, like alive? Yes.
No,
she's very much
Sirius
alive.
XM.
No, I don't know. Actually, I do think she has a show, Better Halves, I believe it's called. I think it's a dating comedy show, I want to say. But she does have a show.
She was on fantasy for a while. She was on the Fantasy Sports Radio channel.
And she's been a fantasy of mine for a while as well, Tom.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I don't know who isn't. That's a female of you.
Don't tell my girlfriend. On this date in 1789, John Adams was sworn in as the first vice president of the U.S. 9 days before George Washington's inauguration. He, of course, wanted to be president, was not president. He's the original cuckold of the United States of America.
Original cuckold?
Yes, cuckold. Google it if you don't know what it is.
Do I need to look that up on the dictionary?
Maybe but open a incognito tab so your wife doesn't see that you looked it up.
Yes, yeah, all right, yeah. The private screen, I just figured that out.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Just figured it out in case the wife's listening. I understand that. Just figured it out.
Hey, by the way, I know we're running out of track space. You got life. It's down to 4:17 left. You got life.
Let's go. Plus 3.5.
Dustin Swedelson, you might get this plus 3.5. I'm Tom Byrne. We appreciate everybody tuning in to VSiN Live. Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight is next.
covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.